Nation. It's time to tee off with Dirt and Sprague.
Probably the most skillful the world has ever seen. And they look at you when I say that as if I'm potty, which I am on occasion.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Open Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Go on, my son. Get it out there. That's more like it.
The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. I cannot wait for this week to be over.
What is happening?
It's the least exciting start to a radio show I've had all week.
Monday will get here soon, buddy. Monday will get here soon.
I can't wait.
2 more days. We're almost there.
Never want to hear bagpipes again.
You're done with the bagpipes?
It's just depressing. There's nothing fun about this.
Yeah, bagpipes do tend to be depressing, especially if you've heard them at a funeral. Then every time you hear bagpipes, that's all you think about.
That's funeral bagpipes.
Funeral bagpipes.
Where's the party bagpipes?
I don't know if
we
party
got
bagpipes exist.
For Paxton's graduation ceremonies at OSU Cascades.
They played bagpipes for this.
We had 2 bagpipers and Benny walking down the hill, leading all the graduates to get seated.
What's the connection there for bagpipes?
I
in
have
Oregon
no
State?
idea. I was trying to ask what was going on.
Why
but
would we do bagpipes?
I don't know.
Huh, that's kind of weird.
I think it's just like a cool,
Look at that, they're
unique
playing
thing, I
bagpipes.
guess. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen somebody play bagpipes in person.
Really?
I mean, it's maybe a long time ago. When was the last time you saw somebody play bagpipes?
I saw it a couple times in
Well,
school
haven't you
growing
seen
up.
the Unipiper?
Yeah.
Not in person, no.
Oh.
Well, that's
No.
a valid point. Yeah.
What
I've
about-
seen him. I've never seen him
I've
in
seen
person.
videos. I've never seen him in
Yeah,
person.
You don't go to Timbers games.
I do not. I know he's at Timbers games. I mean, probably like a Shamrock Run when I was a kid or something like that. We used to do that every year when I was young, a young pup. But other than that, I can't think of bagpipes in person.
Seems like a really hard instrument to play.
Seems like an incredibly hard instrument
I
to
don't even
play.
know where you start.
You got to. There's got to be a connection if you're playing bagpipes.
Think that's harder than the accordion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the accordion is just a natural kind of motion of things as you're moving your digits, whereas like the bagpipe, I don't even know how they really hold it. Which one are you blowing in? Is it like a flute where you're having to move your hands to the different things?
Yeah, I believe there's holes like a clarinet, and you
that
fingers
seems-
cover up holes to get different notes.
I'll ask you this.
I don't know.
I'm going to Google how do you play the
I
bagpipes.
think you're dissing the accordion because both hands need to move independently.
Why did you ask me if I thought something was harder, and when I said yes, you go, I think you're dissing it when you're the one that asked me.
I asked what you thought.
And did I say it was the easiest instrument ever?
No,
Running
I
hot
think
this
you're
morning. We're
dismissing
running
it.
hot this morning.
Well, it's
I
a
love it.
ridiculous thing to say I'm disrespecting
Fired
the
up about the
accordion.
accordion, man.
I'll tell you.
Angry.
I'll tell you, I don't know what, but we need to be thinking about next year when this same week comes. I can't listen to that open.
Well, we'll
that
see.
is
I got to
not-
see where it's at. If it's in like when it was in Royal Liverpool, I had Beatles music.
That's true. When it's in
It's
England.
in Scotland. What do you want?
Let me see.
Not-
Where does the
not
open?
bagpipes.
You want the Bay City Rollers
There
for
you go.
Yeah,
8 hours?
that'd be
There's
kinda
got to
nice.
be a musician. Like, who's a musician from Scotland?
I don't know.
Next year, the Open Championship is at Royal Portrush.
Where's that at?
Ireland.
It's in Ireland, I
You
believe.
get River
right?
Dance next
There
year.
you go, River Dance. Yeah, it is. Portrush. No.
Yeah, Royal
Yeah,
Portrush is
Northern
in Northern
Ireland.
Ireland.
Give me a
Northern
Bono
Ireland.
open. It's in Ireland. Next.
There
Give me
you go.
a Bono open.
You will get U2.
anything.
Don't play the album though that he forced everybody to have on their
On their iPhones?
On their iPhones. Don't choose a
No,
song
no,
from that
we'll,
album.
We'll go old school.
What a douchey! That is one of the all-time douchiest moves of you automatically getting that album downloaded before you had any other music. I still have those. I don't know. It's weird. But sometimes when I get in my car, I don't have Apple Music. I use Spotify to listen to music. And when my car starts, sometimes it will automatically start playing, but it never does that with the Spotify, but it'll do it with the Apple Music. And the only songs that remain on there are U2 songs. And so to this day, I will sometimes turn my car on.
Was that the Beautiful Day album?
I
or
don't
was
even-
it was
I
it
don't
after
remember,
that?
but
no,
I'll just-
it was. I think it's the one after that.
I'm guessing after that. And you turn it on. I
Like
turn on my
everybody
car.
got that album.
And it's like, why is U2? What is happening? I don't have any U2 albums in my arsenal here. There's none of this in my library.
I don't know if I'd say douchey. Very good marketing.
I mean, is it though? Because I feel like everybody was against it.
I mean, I don't think it stopped their popularity.
Probably not, but I don't know if it grew any fans. It made me more anti-U2. I didn't have a stance on U2, then I was anti-U2.
Got to be hard to be around as long as U2 and grow your fan base, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're kind of set in their ways.
You just
at this
need
point.
you need the kids of the people.
Yeah,
You either like U2 or you don't.
Yeah.
It's the next generation.
Yeah.
It's what is the hardest thing to do, probably, with music.
My favorite U2 moment is the South Park episode where he ended up being a dump. That's one of the all-time great South Parks when they try and break the world record for largest dump.
Yeah.
I think
you
Randy
think
does,
about-
and it turns out that Bono was a dump the entire time. He's just a large turd.
That's a good
I
one.
always marvel whenever like Sweet Carolina's played at like a college game. The Hops play it sometimes, and like all the the next generation, like they know all the words. That's remarkable.
But does it grow the artist's fan base, or is it just
Is
specifically
it just the one song? That's the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
But two, it's an homage to the artist that their music can still be relevant
Yeah.
40, 50
All these years later.
after
Make a good catchy tune. It just
Yeah.
keeps going.
When did Sweet Caroline come out?
70 something.
Had to be the 70s.
It came out in 1969.
Ah, nice.
1969. That's what
Yeah.
it says that the album came out. Yeah.
55 years ago.
a long
55 years ago. There's not a lot of songs that are that way, but that's definitely one of them. And I don't think it grows the popularity of Neil Diamond with younger audiences.
You hope at some point.
I don't think
though,
people are
there's-
listening to that and being like, I'm going to go listen to Neil
there's a-
Diamond now.
Yeah,
we just know it because it's played literally
But don't
everywhere.
you think there's initially curiosity, like if you're, whatever, and it's like, wow, everybody's into this song and, bop, bop, ba, and all that.
Ba,
like
ba, ba.
your curiosity of, because it's not something that if you are, 18 or 15 or 23, you obviously doesn't curiosity take over? It's like,
I don't
who's
operate
that? What
that
is that
way.
song?
You could play a song from the 50s that I like, and I don't think I could tell you that I followed up and looked up the
No.
artist catalog.
Especially with, the world encyclopedia in your phone. Like,
You
it's
can
not
immediately find out who it
you
is
can
and where it
find
comes
out
from.
and what's going on.
Yeah, but
I'm the same way though. It doesn't I'll even hear songs sometimes and I don't even know who the artist is, and I'll be like, I like this song, and I won't even follow through with finding out who the artist is.
I have the same problem. I think you
Maybe
might
that's
be.
my sign of getting old.
No, I think here's the thing though. It's like, is it the artist making that song great, or is it just kind of the way that it is? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he executes it well, but like also such a Sweet Caroline.
Ba, ba, ba.
Is that like, oh man, that's such good singing, I need to go find him out? Or is that like really catchy tune?
Just a moment in time. He
Yeah.
caught lightning in a bottle with one song.
Right.
And it has lived for 50 years because of it. Not to say that Neil Diamond sucks. I like a handful of Neil Diamond songs.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's the one
Well,
song that
there's
everybody
difference
knows.
between
Yeah.
one-hit wonders and,
Sure.
people
He's
that
not
have-
a one-hit
No,
wonder.
he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. for
No,
crying
but
out
I'm
loud.
just saying, like, that's.
Swag's getting angry of defending Neil Diamond over there.
I just
I think
no,
a lot
I'm
of people
curious,
don't
like,
look it up.
Yeah, if you, look it up and
No, I don't think people
Oh.
do that much.
all right.
P1 Lawrence is saying bagpipes at a graduation is welcome to everyday life. Congrats. Now you have tuition payments, working for the man, the grind. Your ass is over until you retire at 67.
And then they play him at your funeral.
That's right. So in a certain way, it is kind of a funeral. And somebody said it's understandable to associate bagpipes with funerals, but
Yeah.
if you ever get to see a tattoo person in Scotland or England,
Uh-huh.
it would change your mind.
A tattoo person.
Maybe they play bagpipes while you get a tattoo in Scotland. I don't know. Those are happy bagpipes right there.
That's pretty sick. Usually when I get tatted up, I get stuck in an hour and a half conversation.
Would it be more enjoyable to get a tattoo if a bro's just standing in the corner banging away on the bagpipes?
I think any music is kind of nice for me. I like to go to a place mentally when I'm getting tattooed.
You kind of zone out a little bit.
Because sometimes it's not feeling good.
Yeah, you're in a lot of pain. I don't want to feel like I need to have a conversation
I've
here.
always told people it's like being sunburned really bad and then just being repeatedly stung by a bee for an hour.
That sounds like fun.
It's not always the most enjoyable experience.
Not the kind of situation that I would want to be in where I would have to carry on a conversation.
Yeah, I
Like,
had to
I'm-
do that last time.
I'm
Yeah.
out on that. It's like the dentist.
Yeah.
Don't
Why are you
talk
talking
to
to
me.
me?
I
You
just
got
hate that.
I'm sitting here. I'm laying here.
4 fingers and 3 instruments in
So,
my mouth.
how's it
Will
going?
you just
Well, if you
do your
remove
job and get me the hell out of here.
How's your day been?
Everything's going great. Can you take that out of my mouth, please?
And then they stop and you're like, no, just like keep going.
Just
please,
get it over
please.
with. Get it over with.
I don't want to be here.
This is extending everything by 5 or 10 minutes, and it's just unnecessary.
You know, I this is probably good the way this started with little hostility towards bagpipes and controversy of musical instruments. I was going to start the show with politics.
Oh, let's not do that. Let's not do that, Bob. Let's not go there.
Why? We had a guy look like Butthead last night. We got Kamala Harris probably going to have to be the Democratic nominee here.
We did. Old Gatesy boy got shot up in the face, man.
Jeez,
a lot of Botox. His eyebrows aren't moving.
Did nobody tell him that would have been a bad idea before going on stage?
There was a movie that I was trying to connect it to. Was it like one of the Santa Clauses? There's one where Tim Allen gets a lot of Botox and his face doesn't move or something.
Well, that's the Cranks.
Christmas with the Cranks. Thank you. And he's like trying to eat his Jello and nothing's coming out. I saw that last night and I'm like, he looks like the guy from Christmas with the Cranks, man. His face is not moving. He's a young dude too. What are we doing?
And then our president has COVID, and I'm like, does he have COVID, or is he this a way to get out of running because nobody wants him to run?
I'm dropping out.
Oh, I'm not feeling great. I'm 81.
I'm old.
But I was gonna start the show
Things are
with
going
that,
great.
and then right before I left my house, I home aloned for the first time in my life, and I didn't think it was ever really a possibility.
Uh-oh.
My daughter left a little car on the floor, and I had to go upstairs to get my keys. Did not see it in the dark. Literally, foot went out from under me.
Wow.
And I fell down.
Wow.
And I laid on the ground for like a half second, and I went, I just home alone?
Did that just happen to me?
The Micro Machine thing is real.
The wet bandits went down this morning, man.
Maybe conk your head. It
was
need the concussion protocol.
Get a doctor
today.
to come in here. Yeah,
Okay.
we need the blue tent. Where's the blue tent?
It was
Mike Leach is gonna lock your ass in a shed, man.
He is. It was a slow, like, foot went out. I kind of went back. Foot kind of caught me, and I kind of just fell on my butt, and then I just laid on my back for a second. Oh my God, home alone. I never thought this would happen to
You
me.
got the banana peel, man. It was like Verdugo for the Yankees a couple of days ago in Baltimore when he just fell down in left field.
My kid doesn't even have any cars. It's the only car toy she has, and she's never played with it.
That'll be a nice little lesson when you get home. Hey, how about we don't leave cars in a spot on the floor where people walk? How about that?
You gear up for Teddy
Let's
ball
try
game.
that.
Swag can vouch for this. Your house
You
house is nice now.
You try to
absolute
keep up.
mess.
It's going to be a disaster, and at one point you're going to come home and you're going to look at it and you go, I hate this, and you're not going to do anything about it.
Nope, I'm not doing anything.
Yep.
The wife is the one that stresses the most about that. Even when we have people over, she's like, I got to clean. And it's like, people know that we have a 5-month-old, 6-month-old kid. Like,
There's a difference between
What are we doing?
cleaning and just having
Straightening
stuff
up.
out.
yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. Just having stuff, like, we're not,
Yeah.
we vacuum, we sweep, we
Yeah.
do, we
You dust,
clean. We generally clean. But
Sure.
there's just stuff out
There's
all
stuff
the
with
time.
kids. We know
All
that.
the time. There's
You
a laundry
try to
basket on a
just-
shelf. There's
Yep.
a
Yep.
mail piled up for 2
Yeah.
weeks. That's the
You
way
try
the
to
house is
just
going to look.
keep it contained to one area.
Box it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your bedroom.
Yeah.
Is what you're going to learn. You're going to do what everybody else does when people come
that's
over.
Throw it all in
that's
there.
what the door's closed to the
Throw
bedroom.
it in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Just throw it in the bedroom. Your
Throw
parents
it.
are almost here.
We'll deal with it later. Don't worry about it
That's
now.
basically what happens, yeah.
That sounds like fun.
We're feeling good today, I think. A little feisty to start the show.
I'm feeling great. It's a little. We need to turn the heat down. I'm
Dude,
I'm starting
I know.
to sweat.
I'm
It's
sorry.
like muggy in
It
here.
gets super
I think
muggy now.
my palms are sweaty right now.
Yeah,
Look at
when
my
the heat's on,
coffee
I
mug.
got the air conditioning. Who's ever in
Turn
here?
the defroster on, man.
Look,
ice boxes in here.
I'm raising my hand. I turn the heater on when I get in here, but it is 61 degrees when I walk
it's freezing
in.
Yeah, I
when you
know.
walk in.
I
know.
don't know who messes with the ice box.
Well,
in
it
there.
starts with meringue because
Okay.
meringue runs probably extra hot. And then Sukanik walks his big ass in here, and I don't imagine that gets much warmer.
No.
And so I come in here, I got 2 shows, and then probably whatever the night show is, there you go. There's 3 shows running at 68 degrees. You leave it running all night. Nobody in here gets to 61. Now I'm freezing. And then I turn it on and I get the same thing. I'm muggy. It's humidity.
Well, when if I get like Ortner does that all the time too in here. It's like 64 degrees or something when I get in. If I turn the heat on though, this window will fog up.
Yeah, that happened yesterday when I turned the heater on.
I think we're heading in that direction. We got a little bit of defrost over here. Is get the squeegee out.
I
Man.
know. I'll turn it down there in the break. We'll get it going.
Tone it down.
Ryan Abraham of USC Football is going to join us
Yeah,
at 8
Lincoln
a.m.
Riley's kind of been taking it the last few days.
If Feinbaum would have fired him, and it's year one in the B1G, new D coordinator.
Did you see him and Mad Dog and Feinbaum arguing yesterday?
Oh, I did.
Oh, just glorious content.
I did. So we will talk with Ryan Abraham, get his feelings going into Big Ten Media Day for next week. He'll join us at 8 a.m. That will be the Daily Ticker. We got a loaded show. I want to start. Are they going to do it? Are they going to do anything to help themselves? Next on The Fan.
Thanks to our 1080 The Fan
And I'm on my knees.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan.
They are doing our guy dirty. I'll tell you who coming up at the bottom of the hour. The countdown has begun. We'll get to that coming up. A swing and a miss. We got a loaded show.
Swing and a miss. Who's swinging and missing?
I'll tell you. Speaking of swinging and missing, though, you know who's missing a lot is the Seattle Mariners offense. They're swinging and missing a lot.
They're missing a lot of pitches.
Yes, and, we don't dive heavy into baseball on the radio program, but we have talked about the Mariners from time to time. They are a close baseball team. Got a lot of Mariner fans out there, and right now, as they sit at the break, currently in first place in their division.
Yes, they are.
They did blow a massive lead in that division, but they're still number one in that division.
They are still technically in first place.
It's still early. A lot of season left to be
A
played.
lot of season to be left, yeah. And Jerry DiPoto was on yesterday with Brock and Salk, and he was asked about the Mariners' hitting woes and making contact on offense. Here was DiPoto talking about his team's bats, and are they going to look forward with the trade deadline looming to add anything?
We don't make enough contact. That's plain and simple. It's our biggest hickey. It's the area where we need to make the most improvement. It's hard to imagine us going into the postseason and doing damage without improving in that area. And that's the simple truth of it. And that's going to come in some part from the guys that are on our club. And obviously, as we come down here these next couple of weeks with the trade deadline, if we can improve in those areas, we'd like to. I don't know if that's realistic based on right now the congestion in the playoff race and who's going to be available or not available. But we understand that it's a weakness on our team, and that's on me. That's on me for looking at it from the front end of the season and believing that we made enough positive addition to offset what was a strikeout problem a year ago.
I got a couple things here. First of all, I want to start. He says it's the hickey of our team. I always kind of viewed hickeys as a noticeably good thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you guys view it that way growing up? Like,
you prideful if you got a hickey going to school the next day? I'm like, hey.
Or you gave a girl a hickey?
Yeah, look at me. Hey, I did that. That was me.
Hey, there's a mark on her neck.
Yeah, I think
know.
I think I agree with your line of thinking here.
Yeah, he says it in a negative way.
It was always unless you're like you were in a relationship and then somebody had a hickey or you got a hickey. That's when it got dangerous because it's like, hey, where did that come from? I don't know who gave you that hickey.
You were giving and getting hickeys when you were in relationships?
I don't think I've ever given or gotten a hickey, to be honest with you.
Really?
I don't think I ever did. No, I wasn't a big hickey guy. Were you a big hickey guy back in the day?
I gave a couple of hickeys.
Did
yeah.
you? Yeah.
It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna, Dracula, suck your neck. Yeah.
It's always kind of a weird move to me of like, all right, mouth's over here. Okay, all right.
Got caught up in the moment. You never know.
They like when you lick the neck a little bit, and then it turns into something else.
That's the ultimate goal.
You got to get the motor started there, Andrew. Anyways, moving on from hickey talk.
Yes.
I find him a fascinating general manager in the team-building conversation, whether it's baseball, basketball, football. I enjoy all of it. I don't know how I'd feel as a radio host if I was doing a show in Seattle with him, because I would fully acknowledge he has hit a grand slam with pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But he continues to do these interviews where he's asked about offense. He goes, yeah, I fell short. I thought this was good enough. And it's like, literally the whole world told you this wasn't good enough.
We all knew their offense would suck.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so I think Mariner fan, reasonable, realistic Mariner fan, has resigned themselves. And that back end answer of, we'll see. There's a big race. Like, I feel like he's kind of teeing up that he ain't going to do anything.
That's exactly what he's teeing up. This is the setting everybody up for the eventual disappointment that will likely follow. Maybe you get a fringe move here, or you add a number 7 hitter in the lineup, a depth piece, if you will. But they need a household name, and they need a big bat in that lineup in order to compete. And it's funny that this comes on the heels of the All-Star break where you had Teoscar Hernandez win the home run derby. And he was asked by media members in Dallas about, like, what happened last year? Like, how did you go from that to this? And he talked at length about how difficult it is to hit in Seattle. And that's leading a whole new conversation of, why is it so hard to hit here? Is it a coaching problem? Is it a prospect problem? Is there something with the ballpark? Is it just the weather? And I saw an interview, I think Bill Kruger was on the Puck Sports podcast last week, and he was talking about the batter's eye and how certain times of the day the batter's eye is too bright and it throws guys off.
Just in T-Mobile?
Just in T-Mobile, and that's why. And then I think Puckett was like, well, what about the early season games where it's cloudy and the roof's closed and there's no sun? It's like, oh, well, we don't really have anything there. There's something weird. They can't hit up there. They tried to fire their offensive coordinator or / hitting coach.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. The idea that the GM could come out and say that I thought I did enough and this was going to be a good offense is fireable and laughable, because everybody with a brain looked at that offense and said they're going to struggle unless Julio has an MVP kind of season, but that's putting way too many chips into one basket. Now is the time to try and be aggressive, and at some point you're going to have to take a risk, and if they're not willing to do it now, good luck to you in the future, man, because there's no guarantee that all these pitchers are going to stay great. There's no guarantee that all these pitchers are going to stay healthy. You have both those things right now. You just need a bat, and it doesn't seem like willing to go out and add one.
Well, I mean, your pitchers can be great. They can stay healthy, but if you don't score more than 2 runs, they'll still lose.
Yes. They did that with Felix Hernandez for 15 years.
Right, and that's why I guess I'm not shocked because of how he's operated. You say fireable comments. I feel like he's made like 5 of them the last couple of years.
I'd say 54% in the offseason should have been it, but, what do I know?
Well, but also, like, again, he's given him such a stout pitching staff. I don't know where Mariner fan is on Jerry DiPoto, if he's on hot seat stuff or what, but they just as a franchise... Does he strike you as somebody who doesn't want to? I just how high up does this go with that organization?
That's what you have to
How
ask,
risk averse, I guess, are they as a team is where I always ask. I find myself when we talk about team building things, and Seattle's different than a lot of others, but is this a DiPoto decision?
Yeah.
Or has he been told, nah, we're not giving up all these prospects. We're not paying this new guy this contract. Like, I feel like since and maybe you guys can correct me here. I feel like since the Cano contract, they haven't done that stuff. Am I wrong? Am I blanking on one? Is there one I'm missing?
In free agency?
Yeah, they gave him the bag, and then it just
they didn't do anything
well.
else, and I think that's the most difficult thing for mid to small market Major League Baseball teams is
you consider them a mid to they're in Seattle. That's a good sized city. Like their fans have bought tickets and shown up the last couple of years. I don't feel like they should be hurting for money.
Yeah, what media market is Seattle?
They're like
13, 12, 13.
Just outside the top 10.
They're
that's why I say mid.
10.
But when you
I
talk
guess mid is fair.
When you talk about the big market teams, Seattle never comes up.
Yeah, LA,
you don't
New
say
York,
Seattle.
Boston, Philly.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's
Even
like
though
6 teams.
there might be more population in Seattle than Boston or wherever. No, but they've always gone to, they can make one big deal or maybe 2, one pitcher, one hitter, but it's not like the Yankees or the Dodgers where you then, let's get this guy on top of this guy on top of this guy.
Well, I think part of this has to be development too, right? Because Kelnick is a Brave.
Yeah, I know.
This guy was the guy for years, and
He
it was
having a good year.
He's up, he's down, he's back up, he's down, and a little bit of a slow start with the Braves, but he's starting to catch on now. I don't know. I don't know how to dissect what their problem is and whose fault it truly is. He's the face of it. He's the voice of it.
Yeah,
and
never hear from the owner.
And he doesn't say the right things.
You can't keep apologizing.
No, at some point you got to dig your heels in. I actually wonder that all the time with the Blazers too. We went through the whole Dame thing last year, and we had a GM tell us comments how many times about going all in and going all in. Can't wait to move all in. It's going to make you so uncomfortable we're all in. That's what we heard for 2 years. And then they obviously did not do that.
They went all out.
They went all out, and they forced their star out.
Yeah.
And I have honestly wondered behind the scenes, I'll never know this, maybe we'll get a tell-all at some point, how much of that was Joe truly wanting to go all in, and the people with the purse strings and the powers that be saying, wait, what?
You want us to spend all this
How
money?
much is this going to cost us? How much is Lillard making?
With tax? You want us to pay a tax?
Luxury tax? Not how much do rookie contracts cost? Let's get some rookie contracts. Because that is the tough part and the tough dynamic for a general manager of you're basically doing to a certain extent, what you're told, that
You
you're
need
given
to
a direction.
Yes.
You're not going to go add a $400 million player without the ownership's approval. And if they're not signing off on that, you're hamstrung a little bit in what you could accomplish. But when you look at their farm system, their top 3 players are all offensive players. I don't know how close or far away they are. So maybe there's an answer there. But the counter thought to that is 2 of your top prospects play the same position. They're second baseman, middle infielders. You got 2 of them. You can't part ways with one of them. Your other top hitting prospect is a catcher. Cal Raleigh struggles to put the ball in play sometimes, but when he does, he hits dingers, and he's only 27 years old. So are you okay having Cal Raleigh be your catcher for the next 5-6 years and parting ways with your top catching prospect? Like, at some point in this sport, you have to be willing to take swings, literally and figuratively. And when you have prospects like that, they can go make something happen. It's just a matter of how much risk they're willing to take on. There's no guarantee that it's going to work. It's always scary when you trade young players for a guy that you're not sure, will they re-sign? How long are they going to be here? How much of an impact will it actually have? But if you do nothing, I can guarantee you will win nothing. And that's where Seattle's been for a while now.
Are they doing our guy dirty? Let's talk about that next, but first, Swag with a sports update.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on the Fan, round 1 of the 152nd Open Championship underway from Royal Troon on the west coast of Scotland. Justin Thomas out early in the clubhouse, 3 under par. He has the early lead over Russell Henley, Justin Rose, Nikolai Højgaard, Alex Noren, and Sepp Straka at 2 under. Just 12 players under par at this point. Tiger Woods is getting set to tee off momentarily. Rough morning for Rory McIlroy. He is 5 over through 13. Scotty Scheffler will tee off later this morning. U.S. men's Olympic basketball team looked the part Wednesday against Nikola Jokic in Serbia. 105-79 victory. They're undefeated in their pre-Olympic exhibition game. Steph Curry led the way, 24 points, including 6 threes. The U.S. hit 44% from long distance. Next up, they go to London Saturday to face South Sudan. NBA this morning, mourning the passing of one of the founders of the Orlando Magic, Pat Williams, passing away at the age of 84 due to complications from viral pneumonia. Williams spent over a half-century as an executive in the NBA. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. Weekday. Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan.
Well, the countdown has started. We'll get to that coming up. Swing and a miss. Top of the hour. I know we don't talk about him much anymore. It's been just past the year point since the trade demand. But our boy Damian Lillard, are they doing him dirty in Milwaukee? Have you been following the Bucks offseason at all much?
Are you not jacked about the addition of Gary Trent Jr. and the arthroscopic surgery that Middleton went through? That doesn't get your juices going?
Well, those started to, and then I think what put me over the top with my juices was they're working out Isaiah Thomas, Justice Winslow.
I mean, if this is 2014, that team would win an NBA championship. I don't know what you're complaining about. The tough part for them is I just don't know enough about their behind the scenes of, like, how much flexibility do they have? Like, if you try and move one of their pieces, what can bring you a decent return? And then financially, I don't think they have any wiggle room.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking, like, it doesn't really feel like they did anything.
No, it does not feel like
the
it.
Raptors quite literally said, all right, good luck, Gary Trent. Thanks for stopping by for a cup of coffee. We appreciate you. One of the more irrelevant trades to go down in NBA history will be Norm Powell, Gary Trent.
Two guys who are just run-of-the-mill backups in the NBA.
But neither team really benefited from that trade in any way.
The next team didn't really bet. We'll see if the next team does for Gary Trent, but it's not like Norm Powell's done much in L.A.
Well, I mean, so last year, it's interesting. Doc Rivers did a podcast a couple weeks back. I don't know if we brought it up or talked about it, but he basically said Dame didn't work out.
Yes.
Dame did not get ready for the year. He didn't know when he was going to get traded. He didn't want to risk getting hurt. And we talked about his season. It was a real slow start for him, and most of the year was disappointing. And I just wonder, does that change now this year, knowing he's got a spot in Milwaukee? He's not going anywhere. And does a healthy Dame at 34, mind you, we just turned 34, and Giannis, Lopez is old, Middleton's getting surgeries. He was hurt last year. He just got surgery. He's supposed to be ready for this year. Like Trent Jr. and Connaughton are their bench guys.
Thanasis demanded a trade too. Turmoil in Milwaukee.
Did he really?
I don't know if I got ball sacked. I might have got ball sacked, but I saw a tweet that said Thanasis has requested a trade.
I think he tore his Achilles. I think you got ball sacked. I think Thanasis.
I'm gonna run with that anyways. Okay. Funny headline. I want out.
But what is that team to you guys in the East? Is it the best? Is it a second best team? Is it a third best team? They kept Doc Rivers, for God's sakes. He was worse than Griffin.
That's the curious part.
Every coaching decision they've made in the last year and a half has been the curious part. First with Adrian Griffin, and then deciding Doc Rivers.
I think beginning with Budenholzer.
Do you know what they smell like?
Budenholzer 2 years after he won a title.
They have a real end of Cleveland with LeBron stench to them, where Giannis was like, I love Chicago. And they were like, Dame, here, fire this guy.
That's the biggest curiosity, is how much is Giannis pulling the strings?
Well, he got Griffin hired, but I don't think he's had, what other say has he had post that?
Yeah, I mean, I know him and Dame have a good relationship. I don't know if that was demands behind the scenes on his part. I think Milwaukee losing in the playoffs and overreacting the year before of saying we don't have enough offense, and they wanted to swap a defensive guard for an offensive guard. And Drew Holiday clearly benefited from that trade because he got another NBA championship out of it. I'll say this. My positive Patty spin on this, if I'm looking for the optimistic angle of the Milwaukee Bucks, is I do think there's some validity to Dame being cautious last year in the offseason. You don't want to go through an injury right as you're demanding a trade. And so I bet there's some truth to that, where he didn't have quite the same workload. And I also know in his personal life, he was going through a lot. He moved, he divorced. Dude, that's going to have some wear and tear on your mentals. There's no doubt about it. And so could that have played a pretty big role in him having a down and disappointing season last year? I absolutely think that it could have. And so I think if you're looking for the positive angle on his side, it's that all of that is settled. He's been there for a year. The family dynamic is not now new. They've been dealing with that for over a year now. He's going to be more focused, more healthy, and more ready to go to attack this season.
He's also 34.
And that was always the risk in making this move. But I'll also, it's funny to me, and I don't know if it's just because of the market that we're in. I don't know what the national conversation is around the Bucks. they have been a massive disappointment now, back-to-back years in the playoffs with different players around Giannis. There's one constant there. And the constant is that Giannis hasn't played in the playoffs. And so if you tell me that Giannis is going to get hurt again in the postseason, yeah, I'm not picking him to win anything. I don't care how good Dame is. I saw Dame with a bunch of nobodies in Portland. They struggled to get out of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of him going there was he's finally a Robin. He's not a Batman. He needs his Batman in order to win. And I love Giannis. He's one of the best players in the league. I don't forget about him despite the last two postseasons, but they got to find a way to keep him healthy. If he's healthy in the postseason, I will coin flip against basically any team in the Eastern Conference because I think he's
even Boston.
Even Boston. I think he's that good, and I think he's that much of a matchup nightmare. I still have the visions in my head of them being down 2-0 to the Suns and him having one of the most dominant runs in an NBA Finals that I have ever seen. He was unstoppable in that series. And so if you get that Giannis mixed with a slightly better and healthier Dame, you got a chance to win an NBA championship next year.
He's looked really good with Greece. Greece might be a sleeper for like a bronze medal in the Olympics, which would be a really impressive thing for somebody to be able to do. I just, I've been following their offseason, following the landscape, and you talk about, I don't know what the conversation is. There hasn't been one because they largely haven't done anything.
I mean, the Knicks have added Bridges. Philly's been active. You've had all these
Brunson
different
took a massive pay cut. Boston's not certainly going anywhere. Everybody's going to get paid in Boston.
No.
Philly went and got Paul George. I don't know if any of these other moves or these things matter for these teams. Oh, Indiana's going to bring almost all of it back.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I'm curious. And 34, this is when you start to kind of worry about the point guard.
Yeah, you got 2 years in your window left, I think, if you're Milwaukee, to try and win with this
I feel like
collection.
they've got one more.
And maybe it's only
I
one.
could see this being over after this year if it's a first
They have to
round
figure.
exit.
I think Giannis has to figure out how to be more efficient and effective without the basketball as much.
Well, he'll look really good when he's a Knick in a year because there's been a massive pay cut taken in New York. Can you imagine Giannis with those four guards?
How many wings do you need, man? You got all the wings in the world.
Who's your center? Giannis. I don't know. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
We'll roll it out.
With
We'll see
OG
what
at
this
4,
is.
Mikal Bridges at 3, just length, long, lean length.
You see us
Milwaukee gets Julius Randle. Is that the deal?
God. You see us kick Serbia's ass yesterday?
Yes.
Mop the floor with Jokic.
He's dominating Jokic in the Olympic qualifiers. He's
Well,
friendlies, right?
the team Steph got hot early.
Everybody played well.
And they cranked up the defense, and they're starting to sniff Paris now, so they're getting serious.
Basketball coverage on The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile, and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use your savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. We will get to the swing and a miss at the top of the hour. The countdown has begun, and a fun fact from a listener. We'll get to all those things next on The Fan.
is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan.
We don't have Ken Barkley today. He'll be back with us next week.
2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah,
he's off
August
in July.
1st. Well,
He's doing his show. You know that, right?
I know. I think he wanted a reprieve. We'll give him a breather.
Okay.
We're giving him a
That's
breather.
fine. I'm not
He
mad
told
at
us he's taking July off.
Okay.
So we'll get him in August, right as football season's wrapping up.
I got a futures to get to.
Ooh, I put in a futures bet this morning at 4:15 in my bed.
I have a futures that I can't lay unless
Oh.
I go to Vancouver.
Oh.
I'll tell you what that is. I wanted to read this very quickly. This one from one of our listeners on the Mariners, from Patrick. He tweeted, Seattle was 6th in MLB revenue last year. It's not a poor mid-market team.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. I've been preaching that all year. If you're a Mariner fan, it's frustrating because you have a lot of the pieces that you need to win, and you're not doing the final thing that you need to potentially do to
How
put
much
yourself
of
over
that
the top.
revenue, that's gross revenue or whatever, how much then gets diverted? Because they essentially own and operate Root now, and I wonder how much.
I don't think they're putting any money into Root. I think they're looking to
I don't think they're putting a
take the
penny
Blazer
into Root.
paychecks and
Yes.
just keep the lights on at this point.
Yeah.
I don't do the countdown clock thing.
Oh, what do you got? What are we counting down to?
But I woke up this morning and I saw something, and you noted it before the show without me saying anything to you, and I actually thought it was funny because sometimes same cycle.
Synergy.
The Jaguars unleashed their throwback unis, and you made a comment and you said, how old are we where we're seeing the Jags have throwback uniforms? They're going back to the Burnell uniforms for maybe a game or two.
Yeah, they're an alternate. They're not going to wear them all year.
And I always liked those unis.
I did too.
I thought they were pretty effing sweet. I love the old logo too. 49 days, gentlemen.
Hey.
49 days until the NFL's back in our lives.
Let's go. We're almost there.
We are almost there.
It's right around the corner, man.
I was listening to the Rossini pod that just debuted with Chase Daniel yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, football's back in my life.
Let's go.
The NFL.
It is another reminder when you see these throwbacks that every uniform was better in the 90s. And I stand by that. You can give me one or two. Don't give me the outliers. The majority of uniforms were all better in the 1990s.
Sure.
And the Jags were included. Like, remember when they had their weird era where their helmet was half gold, half black?
Yeah.
Remember those Jacksonville
The
Jaguars?
Boral days.
Those are horrible. They got to an AFC title game, to be fair, with those uniforms.
Should have won that game.
And it would have been hideous winning a Super Bowl with that. You would have never forgotten it. Like, that's what I wore. It's like LeBron in the 2003 NBA draft. Let's go back to making uniforms great again. Congratulations, Jacksonville, for doing it. These are awesome. It's such a better look than what they've had the last couple of years.
He really stole the whole make everything great again thing, didn't he? Anytime you say it, I just see the hat in my head.
The Ducks keep teasing this. They got a uniform reveal coming today, and they're like
Yeah.
connecting it to the gang green, and that was the launch of,
the Fiestable
defense.
Harrington days.
So it's like, all right, we're going to get a little taste of throwback because the uniforms were great in the 90s. Who didn't like Kelly green and yellow? Simple. Donald coming out of the O. It's a great look.
Twister 2 is coming out tomorrow.
Yes,
Twisters. They're not calling it Twister 2. I don't even know if they're playing off of the original. I'd have to.
I don't think they are. I think it's just another movie with tornadoes.
Are you sure about that?
I don't.
Because it looked like they're using the Dorothy machine in the preview. Anyways,
okay.
It's coming out. Glenn Powell, shirtless, sexy, getting rained on. I'm all in, right? Like, give me some tornadoes on screen. I'm all in.
Woo!
I've always had a sweet spot for the original Twisters movie with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
It's my wife's favorite movie.
Her favorite
Her
movie?
favorite movie. Whenever that movie comes on TV, that's a stop what she's doing, and we're watching Twister.
You know the THX sound effect before a movie where it's like,
Yeah. Ooh.
I associate when I hear that to that movie.
Because
I think that was one of the first times they started that intro into a movie, and then here's a tornado, her dad's getting killed.
He just sucked out of the cellar right out of the gate.
But my point of bringing that up was, to your point, I saw somebody say, Twister wasn't actually a good movie. It was pretty awful. It was a Dodge Ram commercial masquerading around Twisters.
Oh, shut up.
You were just young and you loved listening to, and I forget the band that's featured in that movie,
Yeah.
but it's not a good movie. And I'm thinking about this with uniforms from the 90s. Were they good uniforms?
Yes, they were.
Or were we
It's
just
a
of an
horrible
age?
take. Twister is not an overrated bad movie. That's a horrible take.
I didn't say I
because
agreed
of
with
my
it.
wife, I have had to rewatch that movie. It's also my brother's brother's favorite movie. I'm pretty certain. Like if I
Did you marry your brother?
I might have. I'm a little worried right now. What's going on? Spider-Man meme. Who's who? He was always super into weather.
Are you guys soulmates?
Yeah, when we were kids, he was super into weather. When that movie came out, it was like, oh, he always wanted to be a meteorologist. That was his dream job.
I could see that with Sam.
And so I've seen that movie a lot. It's not an overrated movie. It's not a Dodge Ram commercial. That's a good movie, dude. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it.
Dusty.
The weird girlfriend, great actors.
The script was lacking.
Oh, come on,
See?
Swigard. Oh,
And he
come
was
on.
older when that came out.
Hoity-toity,
And
Lake
nobody loves
Oswego.
Helen Hunt like I have.
God, Helen Hunt in that movie. Oh,
That's
my God.
prime Helen Hunt, right?
I'm calling off the divorce, too.
That is prime Helen Hunt.
Oh, the sucks.
We had Jamie Gertz in it, too.
Yes, you did.
Boo!
See? Take that back. Strike that from the record,
The
Swigard.
script, however.
Oh, come on. Not every
was-
movie's perfect. It's
Really?
an entertaining movie about tornadoes. What do you
There's-
want?
What did you want from the script?
What did you want? What nuance did you want? Is they're sending a machine
I
up into a
wanted any
tornado?
nuance. There was no nuance.
When was the last time you saw Twister?
Oh, it was on. I flipped across it. It's one of those ones
Did
that's
you
on
stop
like
and watch? Did you
TBS.
stop
or
and
U-
watch? I
Of
bet you
course,
did.
I always watch.
Yeah.
Swag,
good
what's,
movie.
what's the name of the actor from Ferris Bueller? He's also in that movie.
The guy that played Cameron Fry. Yes,
he's also in
He's
Succession.
He's Rabbit. In there.
Rabbit, yeah.
Rabbit is wise. Rabbit is good.
Yeah, look at
See?
How-
And he's over here poo-pooing.
How can you crap on the script and you're quoting it? What are we doing?
What are we
you're,
doing
you're
here?
out here just shooting off lines.
Alan Ruck is his
Alan
name.
Ruck, thank you. He's got a line in there that still cracks me up when they're at their Aunt May's.
Yeah.
Aunt May, this is good beef. Where'd you get it? Did you see my cows out front? No. Oh! Killed him.
It dawned on me.
Eating 'em right
You chopped
now.
that cow up, didn't you old lady?
I crapping on Twister over here.
Dude, that movie is aged like fine wine. I'm sure the new one will be good. 90s uniforms were without a doubt better. Without a doubt better. If I polled Oregon State fans right now, would you rather go back to 1998 uniforms or current day uniforms?
I want to go back to Benny.
I don't know where Oregon State fans
You want to go back to Benny?
Give
It's
me,
not.
give me back to Benny.
I'd
Thank
rather-
you.
Yeah.
How many different? I guarantee you run the gamut
I
of
don't
all the
want
teams
the
you want.
sports bras.
Well-
What have the Niners? What have the Niners' best uniforms been the last 3 years? The
Yes.
throwbacks they've worn from 1994.
Hold on, though. When you say 90s Beaver uniforms, they got kind of ugly there for a while.
I'm not going early 90s.
Because 98, remember the double OT Ken Simonton run? They
I
were
do.
wearing some ugly
Those
ass
are ugly.
unis
I'm
in
not counting
games.
those. Those ones are no count.
So you're talking about early 2000s.
Sure, yeah.
You're thinking about the old Beaver?
90s and early 2000s are the same thing. They blend together. What
Okay.
do you want? All
All
right?
right.
Everything was better in the 90s. Let's go back.
90s uniforms and Twister, both still aging well? Or no?
1995 was the Jags' first season.
Yeah.
We're already doing throwbacks.
And they both, like,
I mean, it
them-
makes sense.
30 years.
30 years ago.
them and the Panthers, like, instantly got to the conference championships. I'm like,
They
this
did.
isn't fair.
Yeah, second year, right? I think both of them.
Kerry Collins
Look
and George Seifert in
I
Carolina.
thought it took Carolina a little longer.
I thought it was the same year. So
thought they won the same
1996,
year.
the Jags lost to the Pats in the AFC
AFC
title game,
title game.
20-6. Let me
Yeah.
look at the Carolina
that was a
Panthers.
good Jags team, man. Keenan McCardell.
How did they
Jimmy
get good
Smith.
so quickly?
They got Mark Brunell.
They took
Yeah,
a lot
the-
of free agents
Yeah.
rather than going the rookie
The super young
roster
route.
building.
And
was that
Panthers,
coach?
yeah, second year they lost to the Packers. They
Yeah,
were 12
okay.
and 4 with Dom Capers.
Yep.
in
Dom
year
Capers,
two.
that's right.
They lost to the Packers 30-13.
Dom Capers still dyeing his hair.
They did not make the playoffs again until 2003. So that was their one-off, and then they were horrible for
Who
the
was
next
the
7
Jags'
years.
first coach? Who was that?
Wasn't it? Giants? Wasn't Tom Coughlin?
It was
Oh, it was
Coughlin.
Coughlin.
I thought
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin
Yeah, so you
was
got
the first guy.
Coughlin, you got Brunell, you got Fred Taylor, you got Keenan McCardell, Jimmy Smith. That team was Tony Baselli.
That team was loaded.
That team just got lucky and loaded quick.
right out of the gate.
Yeah, they did.
Right out of the gate.
Probably still the favorite Jags team ever in their organization's history.
Probably.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that Bortles AFC team was. Come
No,
on, get
that
outta here.
team should have won the AFC title game, though. They had a lead.
They had a 10-point lead.
They had a 10-point lead
I
in the
think
second half
differently
of
of 10-point
Foxborough.
leads. I know.
If they had a quarterback with a pulse, they would have won that game, man.
We have a loaded second hour. I've got a futures on this, and we start the second hour swing and a miss. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan. Hey, everybody, Sprague
Langdon Farms Golf Club.
KFXX, KWJJ, HD2, Portland. An Odyssey Sports Station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, opening round of the 152nd Open Championship underway from Royal Troon on the west coast of Scotland. Justin Thomas sitting in the clubhouse at 3 under with a one-shot lead over the field. Alex Nora, Nikolai Højgaard, Justin Rose, Russell Henley all in at 2 under. Just 13 players in red numbers so far. On the course right now, Wyndham Clark even through 2. Rory McIlroy is 6 over through 16. Scotty Scheffler, world number 1, will tee off in about 15 minutes. U.S. men's Olympic basketball team tuning up for their run in Paris starting in 2 weeks. They handled Nikola Jokic in Serbia 105-79 on Wednesday. Steph Curry 24 points to lead the way. They will now move to London for their final 2 tune-up games. South Sudan up first on Saturday. Despite the growing rhetoric that college football playoffs already planning another expansion of 14 or more teams before the first 12-team tournament is played this winter, Executive Director Rich Clark telling ESPN at SEC Media Days there will be no formal votes to take place until after the season's champion is crowned. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan. The Open Championship this year is being held at Royal Troon.
Well, that was rather fortunate. I think it's rather whack, that pretty young wench in the little light-coloured dress there.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Open Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
It's not my fault nobody can understand what you're saying.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here. Good morning. Your coffee roasters are here, your coffee boys.
A lot of people getting roasted overseas right now. Their golf scores are going up.
Oh, Royal Troon just kicking their ass.
Royal Troon's whooping some ass this morning.
That tends to happen, man. It's the wind and the rain. Get you every time.
Scottish golf.
El Tigre in the rough on the second hole. He's even through 1 so far, hitting his second shot out of the tall stuff. Doesn't look happy, but I can never tell. That guy's never satisfied.
You land a ball on the green, you're feeling good, man. Pars are a good score today.
I don't know why, but I'm feeling confident about something in college football coming up here at 7:15. I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
Ryan Abraham covers USC. Is a good friend of this show. He's going to join us at 8. A lot of conversation about Lincoln Riley. Should have been fired last year.
Can his ass.
Dirt would have been happy, I know. We'll get to him coming up in an hour. I want to start the second hour of the show. Swinging and missing in Eugene, huh?
I know, man. We don't have enough money down there.
You couldn't secure DJ Pickett.
No, we don't have unlimited NIL resources like NIL does. We can't, or like LSU does. We can't drop bags like they can in Baton Rouge. How are we supposed to compete with this? Is that how it works when you lose a recruit? Is that what I'm supposed to say?
I think that's what you're supposed to say. I found that actually
kids only care about money now, man. LSU's defense is terrible. Why would anybody want to go there? That's all he cares about is money.
Well, I saw who's the guy that's always defending Oregon? Schwartz.
Oh, Jeff Schwartz? Yeah.
Jeff Schwartz. This just proves we're not always giving the most money. I'm like, really? Or, maybe he just wanted to play at LSU, be a little closer to home.
Might have been a similar financial offer, might have been more. I have zero clue. I'm sure his family loves that he's staying in the Southeast and not going from basically Miami, Florida to Eugene, Oregon. That's a long ways away to leave. But it was ironic in that we've had this 2-week stretch of everybody saying Oregon can get any player that they want. They're dropping these bags, and then you get a big-time recruit who everybody seemed to project to go to Oregon. He seemed to be the favorite, and Wilt Fong had a crystal ball in, and a lot of things were trending that way. LSU was the school that nobody was talking about. The chatter this week was, well, could Miami make a late move?
Heard that a lot.
He's from the Miami area. I didn't hear LSU mentioned hardly at all. And then, boom, there he is. He commits to LSU.
I saw Nimick said within like the last 24 hours. God, what a great shot by Rory. I saw Nimick say like within the last 24 hours, LSU started to kind of be talked about in the dark, off-the-record interwebs of recruiting world stuff. But I hadn't seen a lot of LSU stuff. I did watch its announcement. And yeah, I tend to believe Oregon wasn't outbid. I think there's just other. Like I said this yesterday, Kirby Smart and other coaches have said it's not always just about money for every player.
No, it is not.
Money's a big deal, no doubt. Guys want to get paid, but there's so many programs just offering the same amount. Like, hey, what do they offer? We match.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, who do you like? Or there's a coach, I guess, that he has a relationship with. And now Duck fans already like, well, if we get this guy and that guy, by December, he could be unhappy. And then it's a Dante Moore situation.
I mean, we are a long ways away from signing day. And I said that when DeCorian Moore committed, the #1 wide receiver in the country. Of like, it's great. You got a verbal, but that doesn't guarantee anything come December, man. December is a long ways off. You got to go through an entire football season. He's going to be getting calls from coaches for the next 5-6 months. I do think it highlights a couple of things. So, The idea of losing recruiting battles is always tough. And again, this one's not over yet, but we'll see. Committing to LSU verbally yesterday.
That's the other part is I have a hard time caring all that much about these verbals in this era where anything makes we used it before. The kid that was he committed to Oregon on signing day.
Oh, Peyton Bowen, is that the one you're thinking of? Yeah, he was a Notre Dame commit and then flipped to Oregon on signing day and then signed with Oklahoma.
Like 48 hours later, he'd been through three schools. Yeah. And so it's like, it's hard for me to fully get, oh man, he chose that school. It's a lot of time left. It could change.
We had Dante Moore in the bag for about 9 months. And then on signing day, it was, nope, I'm going to go to UCLA.
And now he's at Oregon.
You eventually got him back. But that connects to the other point that I'm making. And that is, and Lanning has talked at length about this. And I think it's a really good approach to have of even when you lose a recruit, to maintain a good relationship and to maintain a cordial correspondence, because you just never know. Going to LSU, that's a big get for them. Their defense has been terrible. They have not wanted to spend a lot of money in NIL in the transfer portal, and I don't know if that's because they don't feel like there's a quick fix. They need to address that side of the ball under Brian Kelly, and so getting the #1 corner in the country is a massive, massive move for them. But it's a really good sign that, one, you're in the mix for these kids, and there is the reality for players that go to Oregon or anywhere else. You have no clue how the next 2-3 years are going to go. I don't know if Brian Kelly's going to get turfed if they go 8-4. I don't know if he's going to be unhappy there. I have zero idea how it's going to play out. Oregon landed Jordan Birch, who's again back for another year, primarily because when Lanning was at Georgia, Georgia was his runner-up school. He committed to South Carolina, but Lanning recruited him hard. He maintained a relationship. 2 years go by. He decides to enter the transfer portal, and Lanning makes a call. There's that connection there. And so having that relationship is always a good thing. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed to benefit you down the road. But sometimes, and in the case with Dante Moore as well, finishing in second can end up being a good thing for you.
There's a lot of Texas fatigue happening at SEC Media Days, I guess. Everybody's talking about Texas. It's in Dallas this year. And it's like, hey, how about Sark? How about the Longhorn? Longhorns win the SEC? Are the Longhorns the best team in the SEC? And this is their first year in the conference. And so there's a lot of people like, why don't you get through a year?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about this after 1 year?
Get through the gauntlet.
I'm curious how Big Ten Media Day is going to feel for all of the original OG Big Ten schools paired with the 4 new ones that they added with the LAs, the UW, and the Oregon. I saw this yesterday. I shot it to you guys. I don't know if I should be surprised. I mean, just their geography, I think, puts them in the spot. But there was a thing released of Big Ten football travel totals for 2024. UCLA will travel the most miles. They'll travel 22,000 miles. Washington will travel 17,000. That's the second most.
Suck it, Huskies.
SoCal will travel third most at 12,700. And Oregon will travel fourth most, 12,500. At the bottom, let me look at. Oh, look at that! Just coincidentally, Ohio State, Michigan near the bottom 4.
There were 2 randoms at the bottom, though, weren't there?
Purdue and Indiana.
Purdue and Indiana. I'm like, how? I guess location-wise, maybe it makes sense, but how are they getting the benefit of the doubt?
Well, and it's not a surprise that they're traveling the most miles or that they're in this conversation. It's just I think it's not also a coincidence that they got there, took a slight pay cut, 2 of the 4 of them, and the Big Ten said, also, we're making you do all the travel. Good luck in our new conference.
There's not a lot of options, man, unless you're playing they're not playing all 3 West Coast schools every year.
They should have. If you cared, you could have. They didn't. And so those 4 new schools to the Big Ten are going to have the most travel.
It's just going to be the reality that you're going to have to face. I see these, and there's been a lot made of Cal and their travel in the ACC as well, and that one is even worse than some of these numbers.
Cal's is 24, so UCLA is not
right on their
behind,
heels.
Yeah.
I again, though, will reiterate, football's not that big of a deal. It's like leaving on a Wednesday instead of leaving on a Thursday. You get there 2 days early. It allows you time to acclimate. The sports that are truly going to be feeling this, and again highlighting why everything outside of football is incredibly dumb, is all the other sports that play multiple games a week and that are traveling for months on end. Football, you could have a stretch where you have 3 straight home games, man. I'm leaving the state one time in a month. But yeah, it's a long flight because you got to go all the way to Minnesota or Pennsylvania or New Jersey. But when you're in one of those sports that's playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or 3 or 4 games a week, that's when the grind is really going to wear on you as the season goes on. It should have been an only football move. These guys will be fine. Football's not that big of a deal. It's the Olympic sports that are just going to get crushed by this.
So the mile thing won't be a big deal or have any impact in your mind?
I don't think that it will. No, I don't. I mean, I think they did a really good job. I'd have to go look at everybody's matchups and how they break down, but there's not a lot of like, hey, UCLA is going to Minnesota, flying home, and then going to Rutgers. Like
Cal has that quite literally. It's like Miami.
But I think they have a home game at least, sandwiched in between.
It's like back over to play this team, and that it's just like there's a stretch there where Cal feels like they just keep going back and forth.
Yeah, they have. I think the first 4 weeks of the season, it's like long road trip home, and then they kind of settle in a little bit from there. I don't know. When you're going for one game and you're leaving 2 days early, I've flown to New York a million times. You're a little jet lagged for the first 12 hours, then you're fine. I don't see it being that big of a deal.
What do you think it's going to be like next week with the new schools compared to what you saw with Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC stuff this week?
I don't think that one of the new schools is going to have that Texas bump.
Oh.
I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
You don't think your alma mater is that school?
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of conversation around Oregon, but are they a bigger storyline than Ryan Day maybe getting fired going 11-1? Or Michigan, who just won a national championship and lost their head coach?
See, I don't know.
Or Lincoln Riley on the hot seat, according to Paul Feinbaum.
I don't know if Texas was the biggest story. I think it was more the exhaustion from people. I heard this from Pate of everybody just bringing them up in the whole, hey, how you guys going to stop Texas? Hey, Texas is in the SEC now. How worried are you? Like, isn't that Oregon in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I guess to a certain extent.
I know Michigan won it, and so like they deserve their shot at defending the crown. Ohio State's team is loaded, but Oregon in almost every poll, every talent database that tracks the stars and all that, like almost every measurable says Oregon is a top 5 team in the country.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
so
maybe that same expectation is there. Maybe people will get tired of us.
I think it's going to be.
I love it. Bring it on, Big Ten bitches. I'm not scared of anybody, man. Ohio State, Michigan, good programs. Penn State can't win big games. Everybody else sucks. Bring it on.
Penn State can't win big games.
When was the last time they won a big game?
I don't know.
When was the last time?
Hope we get James Franklin before dirt leaves.
I think we miss him, actually.
I mean, does Utah against a pig farmer at quarterback count in the Rose Bowl? Are we going to give them that? I mean, to be fair, they did beat the Huskies in a Fiesta Bowl.
They did.
So that did happen.
Saquon.
They did with Saquon. They did win that game.
They have Aller coming back.
They have Drew Aller back. They do.
That doesn't make you nervous?
Not at all.
Well,
we don't play
your boots?
We don't play Penn State this year. They're not on
the Big Ten title.
We could. They're not on the docket in the regular season, at least.
There is something in college football that I'm feeling weirdly confident about, and you guys may need to talk me out of this. I'll tell you what it is next on The Fan.
The Blazers are dealing
body to the pop song that I'm singing.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
On 1080 The Fan.
Ryan Abraham of USC football at 8 a.m. We'll talk with him about the Feinbaum comments, their first year, going into B1G Media Days next week. Dirt will be here for the Tuesday of of those shows, and then he is going to be off. I have sent out a offer for somebody that I asked to co-host with me those other 2 days. Haven't gotten back yet, so hopefully they get back to me on that one.
Hopefully we get a lot of good interviews, man. We're not sure exactly how it's going to work and how that is all going to shake out. Hopefully it ends up being a lot of fun because I know at least the press conferences will be good and we'll have a lot of good audio to react to from those, but interview-wise we'll have to kind of wait and see.
So we have a lot to get to. Yesterday I dove in some more, as I have been with college football, and yesterday Kalen DeBoer took the podium.
He did.
And I found him to be actually quite good at the podium yesterday.
He was very entertaining. There was a quick take from Peter Burns who said Alabama's in a better spot now with Kalen DeBoer than they were with Nick Saban.
From last year going into their starts.
His argument was the current landscape of college football with NIL and transfer portal and how Nick Saban, he felt like would not have continued to handle this climate well, and Kalen DeBoer is better suited to handle that.
I went to the Reddit Roll Tide page. They all seem to actually be all in and love what they've seen and heard from Kalen DeBoer.
Guy's hitting home runs right now, man. He hasn't coached a game yet.
And he's giving credit to everybody. I thought what he said yesterday was actually really good stuff, even though there's some Husky people that hate him. But I was thinking about him because we've talked about them the last couple days of where they sit in the landscape of the SEC. And I think I'm officially all in on Jalen Milroe as my Heisman pick.
That's your pick, huh?
I think it's my pick.
Okay. What are the odds? He's got to be top 5, top 6 odds, right? He's got to be up there.
They're not very long.
All the Heisman bets, it's a decent payout if you hit it right. I think Gabriel's the favorite right now. He is trended up. Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. Milroe's got to be in there.
There's not a heavy favorite.
Carson Beck and Gabriel right now in BetMGM are tied.
Okay. Ollie Gordon's probably in that mix too.
He is 10-1, Milroe. He's tied with Ewers, and he's just ahead of Will Howard, Jackson Dart.
Will Howard. Ooh.
Nico. Look,
that's a bet that I would not make. To win a Heisman Trophy, I don't know if I'd go there.
I don't know, man. He was good at Kansas State. I know it's been questionable so far in Columbus, but yeah, I think Milroe, after that South Florida disaster where he got benched and it was ugly and they probably should have lost.
That was more of a message sent to from Saban of like trying to get the team to rally around him. That was one of those, subliminal things.
They get redemption against South Florida week 2.
Yeah, that's
coming to Tuscaloosa.
Almost lost that game last.
It's not gonna be a hurricane with weather. Remember the camera view?
Yes.
It was at the top of the stadium in the back of the end zone.
You couldn't see anything.
Do they turn Milroe loose? Does he have like 8 touchdowns or something against them?
Well, I'm curious because the intermediate stuff for him is where he struggles. He's got a deep arm. He's got a big cannon that can push the ball down the field. DeBoer talked about it. I also the DeBoer bump. We've seen it multiple times in guys' career, and they are loaded at wide receiver. And I think I'm all in on Jalen Milroe. Heisman pick would probably be where I reside right now. He has, I guess, been the talk of SEC in terms of like all the other players on other schools have all just been incredibly like, that's the dude. He's a stud.
Yeah.
This is the guy. And then you pair that with DeBoer, and it's just people are raving about it.
The thing I'm most interested to watch, and again, maybe I'm wrong on this because I don't know if I would have made this argument about Michael Penix coming from Indiana.
I certainly wouldn't have wherever you're going with it.
Sure, and being in that offense could maybe change things. But he is such what makes him special and elite is his athleticism. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe that translates to he's more of a thrower this year and fits more into the offense. But I'm really curious to see how different and what kind of wrinkles Kalen DeBoer will put on that offense with Milroe at quarterback. And is he running the same stuff he ran at Washington where it's, spread you out and sling it all over the field?
I think it'll look more
like
like
a zone read
when he
kind
had
of game.
Penix at Indiana before the injury started because Penix, they moved him around and he
ran a ton
more.
When he was in Indiana.
And when he was at Washington, they were like, no, we got to avoid.
He was bubble wrap when he was in Seattle the last 2 years. They didn't use him at all with
So I think if you want to go back to when he had Penix at Indiana, and I think it'll look more like that.
He's talked about it too. He's like, no, he's got legs. We're
a
not
freak athlete.
We're not shying away from what he is as a player. I'm with you. Like, what version of it are you going to get? I somehow
They just got to make sure they don't run him in. Like, they play Georgia week 4. So they're at Wisconsin week 2.
That's an early test.
They get a bye before Georgia.
Yes.
What day is that game?
Saturday, September 28th.
Okay.
4:30 p.m.
Is it at Georgia or in Bama?
It's in Tuscaloosa.
In Bama.
Oh,
in
my
Tuscaloosa.
God, I'm so
They haven't
excited.
played in the regular season. I mean, they did in the COVID year, I think, but that was one of those weird redraw the schedule things. This is not a normal occurrence where Georgia and Bama play in the regular season.
They gotta find a way, just as they use him, that he's got backside protection, that he's not gonna get just sideswiped by a blind rusher off the weak side.
His offensive line is supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just saying this off of one game. Their receivers on that EA game are loaded, but if you go read about the receivers, they're actually supposed to be a very, very talented group where names are going to emerge this year. And we go, oh, that guy at Alabama, yeah, he's probably one of the best receivers in the country.
It's an interesting thing, though, because they did lose their number one wide receiver transferred.
They lost 2 transfers.
Isaiah Bond, I think,
they lost Isaiah Bond, and they lost Caleb
Downs.
Downs.
Downs, at safety. And I think Bond ended up at Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right.
So he went over to Texas. And so that was the thing when they lost him. It was like, oh, God. But this is the point of being at Alabama, where you're replacing 5 stars with 5 stars.
Right.
So a little bit more unproven, but the lot of optimism in that locker room. I'm not going to push back on that bet at all, because he's the kind of guy that could have, he only had 23 touchdown passes last year, but he had 12 on the ground. You tell me that's like 28 passing and 15 on the ground.
Well, I think those numbers I think you have to, because of what we saw with Penix and what his track record is, DeBoer, with offense. I think whenever we say, like, oh, you tell me it's this, I think you got to go, you just kind of have to naturally assume it's going to be a little higher, just because of that offense and the proven track record it's had.
I mean, Lincoln Riley did this with Jalen Hurts when he got him at Oklahoma.
Very good point.
They were limited on what they could accomplish because they didn't have a defense, but his passing numbers went through the roof from where they were. It'll be interesting to see how that all fits together, but him winning the Heisman would not surprise me at all. This is kind of a fun year for the Heisman race, where you can make an argument for 7, 8, 9, 10 different guys. Maybe there's a flyer that, a guy totally out of left field that we're not talking about right now. But a lot of different guys will have a chance at it.
Cam Ward is 20-1.
Yeah.
He's tied with Riley Leonard.
I wouldn't bet it because he's in Mario's offense, but he's a hell of a player, and they're going to be having a lot of marquee games this year.
Dude, Damian is so good in that game on Miami. My buddy's kid was playing with him. He's running dudes over on Florida State. Side note on that video game front, I heard a thing yesterday on Twitter from Bomani Jones and Spencer Hall. And they were talking about this, and Spencer Hall was like, I haven't played video games, Bomani, since I had PlayStation 2. I'm building teams. I got players to worry about now.
I got to do some recruiting.
And I just laughed because I'm like, I literally went on Prime because it was Prime Day, and I'm like, is there a discount on these PS5s?
It could be a discount. What are we looking at? How much off are we getting?
I kind of got hooked when I played it, and I saw yesterday Brandon Huffman, our good friend over at 24/7, his son was playing the game, and he was decided to play Washington State, and he was Washington State, and he was playing against UVA. I don't know what happened. Had to be a glitch.
Oh, I saw this, yeah.
But it wasn't the Cougars that his son was.
Yeah.
It was Washington State dressed as Washington.
Yes.
And I thought, you could not have pissed off a fan base more than having a glitch like that.
Nope. It's funny to remember, too, that I don't even think the game's supposed to be out. I think maybe today is the release date, or tomorrow.
Today,
So this has all been early. Most of the people who are going to play the game haven't even gotten the game yet.
I think your new unis are being released today.
Oregon's are, yeah. And they'll eventually be in the game, but they're holding them all back until they do a new patch. There's always going to be glitches and weird things that happen.
That's a bad
That's
glitch,
one that you just got. You can't overlook that one, man. You can't have Cougars and Husky jerseys. I've had people texting me how far into the year Georgia Tech is. I was walking out of the office yesterday. Cooley and Ludwig were like, hey, what are we, fall camp? Where are we at right now? Week 2?
Where are we at?
Only one game into the season.
Oh.
We had a late third quarter lead against. I had to play Florida State in Dublin. It's a tough opener.
It is.
For the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
Late third quarter lead. Got a couple of turnovers in the fourth. Ended up losing 45-31. But hey, we're hitting the recruiting trail hard. That was not a game we were supposed to win.
No.
Okay,
you were double-digit underdogs.
Double-digit dogs. You learn from it. You grow. You get better. And we got Syracuse now at home in the home opener.
What mode are you playing on?
Oh, I'm on Heisman, baby.
Yeah, you got to play Heisman.
Come on, you got to make it tough.
You got to take your lumps.
You got to take your lumps. Build it.
Yes.
Build it. I got 4 stars that are sniffing. sniffing. 4 stars that are sniffing coming to Atlanta, Georgia.
Does it let you know that? How does that? I don't know how that works.
Oh, the recruiting is the best part, man.
I'm telling you the
You can
truth.
slide into a guy's DMs. I'm sliding into players' DMs, man.
You might be ashamed to be my co-host when I say this out loud. Never have I one time, not even once when it was out originally, have I ever done Dynasty Mode.
Oh, the Dynasty Mode recruiting is what makes it fun, man. That's the whole
sliding into people's DMs.
That's one of the things. You send him a DM. Hey, what's going on with you, buddy?
USC might be an interesting topic at Big Ten Media Day. We'll talk with Ryan Abraham of USC football coming up at the top of the hour. We got a lot to get to. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first, Swag with a sports update.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, round 1 of the 152nd Open Championship continuing this morning from Royal Troon on the west coast of Scotland. Justin Thomas remains your leader in the clubhouse. A 3-under 68, one-shot clear of a log jam that includes Russell Henley, Justin Rose, Sepp Straka, and Nikolai Højgaard. Tiger Woods at 1 under, one of 14 players in red numbers. He's just getting his round going at 3 under. Rory McIlroy, a tough opening round, 7 over 78. Scotty Scheffler is on the course. He bogeyed his first hole. U.S. men's Olympic basketball team looked the part Wednesday against Nikola Jokic in Serbia with a 105-79 victory. They are 3-0 in their pre-Olympic exhibition game. Steph Curry leading the way with 24 points, hitting 6 threes. Next up, they head to London to take on South Sudan on Saturday. And the NBA mourning the passing of one of the founders of the Orlando Magic, Pat Williams, passing away at the age of 84 due to complications from viral pneumonia. Williams spent over a half-century as an executive in the NBA. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. We'll get to the Daily Ticker coming up top of the hour. Would you? That's coming up in 10 minutes. But I'm going to piggyback off of something we were just doing in a segment that you just did.
You know what I like? Money. You know what I don't like? Jokes. What's the play?
We don't have Ken Barkley on. It is a Thursday. We usually have him, but he's going to be back in a couple of weeks. You gave me a bet that you like for the Heisman Trophy, and I'm going to give you a bet that I like in the National Football League.
All right.
That I locked in this morning.
All right, look at us.
I don't know. I was just feeling it in my plums. I've been feeling it in my loins the last couple of weeks.
Degenerate radio.
And I woke up this morning and I was scrolling, and which I do, which is a horrible thing to do, but I'm laying in bed. It's like 4:15, scrolling Twitter with one eye open.
I kind of have to do it, I think, to kind of wake up. I'm like, no.
Get that bright, vibrant screen
Yep.
right in my face. And I'm scrolling and I see a clip from Mina Kimes' podcast where she is talking to, I believe, the ESPN reporter for the Houston Texans about the AFC South.
She's been previewing all of the divisions with ESPN reporters from an individual team who run down all the teams.
It's great. It's great content, gives you an update. There's so many guys you're like, oh, that's right, they did that, or oh, that move happened, or I forgot about him. There's just a lot of those. We lose sight of it sometimes in the offseason. And the Houston Texans reporter picked the Indianapolis Colts to win the AFC South.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been feeling that in my loins here the last couple of weeks.
Interesting.
And I scrolled by that tweet and I thought, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm logging into DraftKings right now at 4:22 in the morning, and I'm locking in my bet. But I also parlayed it. And so I just want to throw this out there. You guys can give me any random division winner bets that you like for the future. I have parlayed it with... Now, one of them's kind of like, I got logged out. Damn it, I got to log back in. I parlayed it with the Atlanta Falcons to win the NFC South. So I got a Falcons NFC South, Colts AFC South, joint ticket, threw in the Chiefs to win the AFC West just to sweeten the pot because we all know they're going to win the AFC West.
Do we?
I think we do. I think that's a pretty safe assumption.
All right.
They're like a minus 300 favorite, I think, to win the AFC West.
What were the Chargers odds? Were they plus money?
Let me look it up, Bob. Let me find it.
They had
for
to
you.
have been plus money.
It has to, I think they were the longest odds. Division winner.
The Chargers? They were not longer odds than the Raiders
Touche.
or the Broncos.
I'm an idiot. I was thinking of a different team. They are a plus 320.
Yeah.
Chiefs are a minus 230
Yeah.
to win the division. Broncos are plus 1,800.
If you're doing division winners, aren't you just better off to take a dog and make those juicier?
Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean, the Falcons, I don't believe, were. AFC South.
The Falcons are definitely second, if not first in that
They are
division.
first. They're minus 120.
Yeah. And then the Colts are probably third.
Colts are third at plus 310. So you got minus 120, plus 310, and then sprinkled some minus 230 Chiefs in there. I think it ended up being about plus 9, 10-1 kind of odds. Similar bet, but I locked that in this morning, my early division winners.
That's always fun to do. It's just dangerous to do as well because there's still so much that can happen at camp.
You telling me Kirk Cousins' old ass is getting hurt again in training camp? Come on, he's ready. He's poised. This is the year.
I don't even know where he's at physically, but I like their backup a little more than I like him. Even if they have him, they could end up winning that division.
That's true. That was my other thought. If he goes down, maybe Penix comes in right away and does it.
The Colts are interesting. The tough thing is the Jags started off so good last year and they crumbled. Are they going to do that again? And the Texans are, for some, I mentioned the Rossini pod with Chase Daniel, like they're both just openly throwing the Texans in Super Bowl conversations.
Immediately.
And it's not that they are picking them. It's just saying like, hey, everything went so well that, and Rossini reported this, Houston went from saying, hey, we think we got our guy, to holy crap, we got a guy, let's do it now, and they're all in.
Yeah.
I think they gave Nico Collins his contract, and so it's just like, how can we improve on this roster? D'Amico Ryans, obviously being a defensive guru, and so Houston might be in a Super Bowl conversation. Some think they need to take another step. We'll have to wait and see on that. Joe Burrow Bengals line, too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this happens very quickly.
They can.
I also love picking the Colts to win the division because, well, they came down to the very end last year with a backup quarterback, and Richardson's still a question mark for many in terms of throwing the ball, but if he stops running into linebackers and lowering his shoulder and shows that he has grown some with his ability to connect with guys, Steichen looked like a really good hire for them last year. It's just going to be, what is the defense? Is the defense going to take a step for them? I certainly don't blame you for putting the Colts in that conversation. It's just that's kind of a sneaky, tough division. It went from being a joke of a division for so long to Houston's got their guy. Jags just locked up their guy. Here are the Colts with they think their coach. So it's going to be a really tough one. The Falcons can definitely win the South. The Bucs really seem like their only real competition. No disrespect to the Saints and the Panthers. And the Chiefs. Not a bad idea to ever take the Chiefs to win the division given their current reign. But kind of a weird team last regular season.
They were.
And so if you tell me Harbaugh gets them to take a step in the regular season in L.A., and maybe the Chiefs are like the best wild card team that you're still going to pick to win the AFC, I wouldn't put it past it.
He's never had to go on the road in the playoffs, I don't think. Has Mahomes ever played a road playoff game?
Year.
Oh, touche. This year they did. That's
Twice.
right. That's right. Buffalo and then Baltimore. Until this year, he had never gone on the road in the NFL playoffs before.
Yeah.
It is funny how quickly things and narratives can change because, like, the push to put Houston into that category, I can't wait to watch them this year. Because I think there's a team in their division that had a very similar feeling a year ago today that we talked about in a very similar light, and that was Jacksonville. They had Trevor Lawrence. They won the division. They had a young quarterback who had a really good year, a good head coach that many people thought, hey, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, just won the division in year one. Here comes Jacksonville. And they got off to a tremendous start last season and then just fizzled down the stretch, and they didn't even end up making the playoffs. And so I'm not saying that Houston's not going to make the playoffs. Sometimes we do this where we see a team have a really good year, and we just always make the next logical step in our brain of, okay, they were a wild card team. What's the next logical step? That means they're going to contend for a Super Bowl. And the NFL has a harsh reality reminder every year that you don't know what the hell is going to happen. And up is down and down is up. Yep. And there's teams that you think are guaranteed to make the playoffs.
Who's healthy?
Who's healthy at the end of the season. It's an absolute gauntlet. And so it's just funny how we're some people are doing that with Houston, and it'd be fun if they got there. CJ Stroud, I'm rooting for him to succeed long-term in the league. But just that immediate push to put a team like that into that category. I think Green Bay's in the same spot where it was 1 year. It was a really good year. Damn near beat the Niners in the divisional round of the playoffs. They punked the Cowboys in the wild card round. And so our mind goes to what? Well, the next logical step is Love will improve. The Packers will be there again. They're going to compete for a Super Bowl. And every year we fall into this pit of predicting NFL playoff teams and trying to remind ourselves that half of the playoff roster is basically gone year in and year out in the league. And so a handful of teams that made it this year, or last year I should say, will not make it this year.
You could have a real conversation. It sounds crazy to say this because I don't know when the last time we've ever said it. You could make a real point. The AFC South is the second best division in football. You could certainly give me, what about the West? Seahawks maybe the Cardinals, who are kind of becoming a sleeper team for many. The Niners, right? The Rams. You could say the East with the Cowboys and the Eagles, but I think the Giants and the Commies are not very good. The North, to me, is the best.
AFC North has to be the best.
Because maybe all four of those teams can make it, despite however I feel on Russell Wilson and Justin Fields.
Or Deshaun Watson.
Well, yeah, but it almost doesn't matter.
They were the playoff team last year.
Nick Chubb is back to squatting 600 pounds on video. So, like, Cleveland could still be good. All four of those teams can make the playoffs. The East, show it to me first, Jets. Pats, I'm all out on the Pats. Dolphins are very questionable because of what they lost on defense.
East is the flyer there with the Jets. If the Jets end up having a decent year, that's the one that you would look. But we all know Buffalo will be good. How good, I don't know. But Buffalo's going to be good. Miami is above 500 team. I'd be willing to bet.
It's in the running. The NFC North is also in the running there because people think the Bears are going to be loaded. The Lions are good. The Packers are good, right? I think it's crazy to say out loud that division's in the running for second best division maybe in all of football.
Imagine saying that 5 years ago.
Imagine saying it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It just wasn't something we were talking about. We always laughed at that division, and now that division is kind of what the NFC South has turned into.
I'm trying to do more futures bets this year. That's one of my gambling
goals.
You're out on future bets?
I mean, I know I just gave you one with Milroe in college football.
It's fun. You place him, then you kind of forget about him as the year goes on, and you got this little hey, surprise by the end of the season.
But there's just the season's so long, and so much can happen that, you do forget about him if there's smaller bets, but also you look back, you go, remember when I thought this was a real possibility? And it's like week 7, and it's no longer a possibility.
You guys like any surprise division winners this year? Are you sniffing any underdogs that are getting good odds right now? Bears might be it for you in the NFC North. You're all in on Caleb. You want to know their odds in the NFC North?
Well, they're probably third best odds in that division.
Yeah, the Vikings are last. I know that. I just looked at it this morning.
You know, I'll give you
plus 265. Vikings are plus 1,000.
I'll give you one that I didn't really think about, and I largely don't respect the ownership of the team.
Okay.
but I thought they had some really positive moments, and they didn't have their quarterback last year. The Cardinals are interesting. Now, you know I'm not a big Kyler guy.
Inch plus 1,300 to win the division.
But their defense should be pretty good with Gannon, and he's healthy. They went and got what most of us think is a number one wide receiver.
Do you have fire in your gut?
James Conner, I thought he had a good year last year.
He did.
The Cardinals are an interesting little sleeper, sneaky team, I think, in their division.
Interesting one. I didn't see that coming. Swaggy, like any long shots?
I don't know.
No.
The only one, what are the Dolphins' odds in the AFC?
The Dolphins in the AFC East are third best behind the Bills. Bills plus 170, Jets plus 190, Dolphins plus 200. So they're all clumped together.
The Dolphins are a good regular season team. I think you bringing them up is a valid thing. Everybody's in on the
Jets.
Jets.
Are way overrated. Nobody's.
And how is Buffalo going to be without a number one wide receiver?
Exactly.
Unless Keon Coleman becomes that. Maybe he does.
My take is I think he's going to have a better year this year, Allen.
That Allen will have a better year this year?
He's going to make a player or two pop out that we didn't talk about. I heard yesterday, so the Jet thing is interesting. Rodgers reportedly went to Egypt. He didn't go to an RFK thing. He went to Egypt. I don't know what drugs are in Egypt that he had to get his hands on.
I don't know.
But he went to Egypt. He told the organization, I'm going to Egypt right now. And they could have moved camp 1 week later so he didn't miss it, so they could have escaped the controversy. And Saleh basically made a point to keep camp on so he could prove the media he's not the general manager.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to do.
There's a lot of stuff.
I like that move from Saleh, to be honest with you. I do.
He's like,
You
I'm
wanna
running
be
this
in the
I'm
game.
not moving camp. I'm not moving camp for you for one player.
That
makes Rodgers look terrible, not the Jets, I think.
No, I actually think it's flipped because you're all in on Rodgers. Not you, but like the Jets they've sold
As an
everything
organization,
out.
yeah.
You cannot in good conscience hire Nate Hackett, who's god-awful, and then tell me you're holding to your guns on camp dates. Why would you want to be embroiled in that controversy? It's kind of idiotic.
I mean, this is why it's not going to end well.
It doesn't feel like he's going to be the coach.
It
for
feels
the
like
Jets
it's
next year.
Yeah, that feels like a Saleh trying to save his dude, I didn't want I'm trying to coach a team here, and we have a massive distraction that will not stop being a massive distraction.
Again, I'll add to it. You're not wrong, but he agreed to the Cobb signing. He brought in Hackett. He's also playing along with all of this crap.
Well, that's a tough part behind the scenes. Kind of back to the Mariner conversation of how much say does he have in those, and how much of that is Woody Johnson saying, "Oh, sure, whatever you want, Aaron, come on down. We'll make all the moves you want." I'll give you one other worse odds to win a division that I kind of like. Might sprinkle a few coins on it. Pittsburgh at plus 800.
I'm not mad at that either. If they turn to Fields, which, I still don't get why they're not having open competition there.
They were 10-7 with what at quarterback last year?
Mason Rudolph.
And Burrow has
Kenny
gotten healthy
Pickett.
in two of his 4 years in the NFL. Lamar Jackson has been injured at times in his NFL career.
And the Browns are weird.
You know how I feel about the Browns. Plus 800 on the Steelers. I might sniff around that a little bit.
I'm still not sold what they're saying publicly is true. Why are you so committed to giving Russ that gig instead of making that a competition?
Yeah, going a little bit younger and maybe having the guy you could develop and be your quarterback for the next few years.
What did Russell Wilson accomplish the last 2 years?
Nothing.
Fields at least looked good at the end of the season. He made you question it, right?
He can run. He's an athlete. At least you can get first downs that way. Coming up top of the hour, we'll go to Ryan Abraham of USCFootball.com, and he's going to give us his thoughts on the Lincoln Riley debate of the last few days. Should he have been turfed last year? Let's get to Would You? That's next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
The downside of it is I just wish that we could put the 12 best teams in the playoffs. Not worry about conference champions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's Nick Saban, who's doing the media rounds at SEC Media Day, saying conference champions should not be an automatic berth into the playoff. I don't know if he holds that opinion if he's currently coaching.
He probably does not. This is a SEC argument. We're the best. We want all our teams in, whether we win or not. And I would argue, Nick, you're going to get 5 SEC teams in every year. You're going to be just fine.
Who's stinking it up? That Take. Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle those projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com. Hey, everybody. Sprague here.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan. It's crunch time.
Let's go!
Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. Ryan Abraham going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts. Should Lincoln Riley have been fired last year after their 8-5 season at USC?
I'm wondering if Lincoln Riley has any regret about not taking that Charger gig if he had an
If he was
opportunity.
offered the Charger gig or any NFL gig over the last 2 years.
Do you think, quickly, not to, well, I'm probably going to derail with this question, so I'm sorry. What are the Dolphins doing with the Tua thing?
They're waiting, man. They're waiting it out.
What are they waiting?
To see if he can still play football in a year. So, I think that's their thought.
Wouldn't you just be better served to give him a 3-year, 220?
Would he accept that?
I don't know.
That's the tough part.
I don't know what he wants. The guy almost retired, and now he's demanding a 5-year, $250 million deal.
Guy wants the bag. That's the one guy that I think I would look around the NFL, and I love Tua. I root for him, but that's the one that I totally get why a team is being let's wait and see on this thing.
No. I get it from the Dolphins' perspective, but he also doesn't strike me as, no, I want 5 years, 260. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
That's true. That might not be his personality, but who's negotiating for him? Is it his agent or is it him? Because Tua strikes me as that guy, but is his agent okay with him saying, don't give me 5 years, 260?
Yeah.
It's a different conversation. Let's play the fun game of Would You? I really would love to interview whoever gets the ability to smoke enough weed to come up with these combinations. Who gets this job? Who comes up with this? I want this job. Kansas City, the Royals at their ballpark, they are introducing a new $25 food item. Let's play the fun game of Would You?
Here's fake fat dirt.
Taste of the K Taco is what it's called. Kauffman Stadium, Taste of the K Taco.
Taste of the K.
I'm gonna read slowly. There's a lot going on here, okay? Yeah. So try and wrap your mind around this.
All right.
It is a hot dog wrapped in a cheeseburger quesadilla, topped with barbecue brisket.
I'm in. Say no more.
French fries.
Yeah, just keep going.
Lettuce, onions, sriracha Cracker Jacks.
Ooh, take me out to the ball game.
And 816 sauce, which I'm assuming is a hot sauce. I don't know 816 sauce.
I don't. What are we doing?
What do you mean? What are we doing?
It's a barbecue sauce.
You
My
don't
apologies.
Think that sounds good?
It's a Kansas City barbecue sauce.
This doesn't sound good to you. I know there's a lot going on, but it doesn't sound like a good combination.
No.
Here's my issue with it. I don't know how you begin to even tackle this.
Eat it with a fork.
It's 4 inches high, man. I can't bite into that thing.
Too high for you.
4 inches is too big. I can't fit that in my mouth.
Okay, all right. You eat it with a fork. It's pretty cut and dry. Okay. Eat this way.
You cutting with a knife? You go knife too, fork and knife?
You know what?
If I'm sitting just in a regular seat, there's
better be a good plate size. Because I hate when it's too small.
I need a bench or something. This is at a table.
Standing room only table.
There's no way.
Like a bar that overlooks the stadium, so you're still watching the game.
There's no way I can handle this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It sounds like a very fascinating thing to have to figure out how to eat. Have you, by the way, Tiger just doubled. Have you, by the way, tried that food trend? I don't know if it's still popular on Instagram.
Yeah.
The Big Mac taco?
No.
Have you seen this?
I have not.
So you take ground beef. So you take a regular soft taco-sized tortilla. You then smush ground beef all on one side. So you flatten it like a really wide smash burger.
Okay.
You then slam that bitch on the fryer. You cook the meat. You turn it over. You take a piece of cheese, a thin one, you put it on, you cover it so it melts super quick, and then you make the Thousand Island Big Mac sauce. You dice some onion, some pickle. Oh,
I'm in.
My orgasm.
That sounds delightful.
I tried it.
That sounds fantastic.
It is as incredible as it sounds.
That sounds unbelievable.
It was so good. I had 4 of them. My wife's like, I think you just ate 3,000 calories. I'm like, it was worth it.
I'll tweet this out at Dirt and Sprague on Twitter. You can go check out the picture. The Taste of KC, would you? Or the Taste of the K Taco. My apologies.
That's a better name.
Would you? And I'll tweet that out here so you can go check it out at Dirt and Sprague. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. A couple more footballs. We're in football mode, man. We got a few more football notes to get to. Let's start with Ryan Abraham of InsideDetroit.com and his thoughts on USC and Lincoln Riley going into year 3. Ryan Abraham next on the Fan.
If you're considering new construction,
A SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, opening round of the 152nd Open Championship Royal Troon on the west coast of Scotland. Justin Thomas remains in the clubhouse with the lead at 3 under par of 68, a one-shot clear of 5 golfers. Sepp Straka, the only one at 2 under on the course. Jason Day, Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, all 1 under on their front nines. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler, after an opening bogey, has it back to even. Rory McIlroy, a 7 over at 87, has work to do to make the cut. U.S. men's Olympic basketball team looked the part Wednesday, taking down Serbia 105-79 as they continue to tune up for the Olympics. They're 3-0 now. They will take on South Sudan Saturday in London. Despite the growing rhetoric, the college football playoffs already planning their next expansion. Executive Director Rich Clark telling ESPN at SEC Media Days there will be no formal vote to expand beyond 12 teams until after this season's champion is crowned. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for deep bunkers and undulating fairways.
I don't know. I'll keep trudging around this course with him. I spend the best years of my life with this fella. All he does, up the fairway, down again. It's a wonder he doesn't get me holding the flag.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club, the best course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at langdonfarms.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
The Fan. In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague visit with the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Be ready for your next afternoon vacation with Beak Breaker Tropical. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time brought to you by Pelican Brewing. Visit pelicanbrewing.com for more details on locations, events, award-winning beers, independently brewed since 1996. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. We had a conversation yesterday debating a Quake take from Paul Feinbaum. Should Lincoln Riley have been fired last year? Unacceptable coaching job. We thought, you know what, let's follow up on that with somebody who's close to the program, a good friend of the program here, Ryan Abraham, at Inside Troy on Twitter, and the owner and publisher of USCFootball.com. Ryan, good morning to you, man. Thanks as always for the time up here in Portland. Paul Feinbaum with the take. He would have fired Lincoln Riley after last season. Seems laughable, but we did want to check in just on that note. What is the temperature down there for Lincoln Riley going into year 3?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. It's good to still do a familiar, radio program now that USC's moving to the Big Ten. Like I did Big Ten radio on Sirius the other day. I'm like, this is so weird. But
getting calls from like Rutgers radio stations and Maryland radio stations. What am I doing?
Yeah. Very strange. It's going to be a whole new world out there. But yeah, those were interesting. I think even if USC wanted to fire Lincoln Riley, I mean, he signed a huge contract. I don't know the intimate details of it, but I think it would be very difficult to get out of that one now. But I mean, I see where he's coming from. But when USC went out and hired him, they hadn't done something like that for really 100 years, like back in the Howard Jones days when they hired. I mean, I think he won a national championship at Yale. But they've never really gone out and hired an experienced coach that was proven at the college level and had success. And, Riley had some Heismans and playoff appearances. So he's, as far as resume goes, that's as good as USC has been able to do. And yeah, it was a big step back last year. I know he took over an absolute mess from Clay Helton, and there's issues. I think there's concerns when you look at like what the program has been. But I think when you take a big swing like that, you have to give him a shot. You have to give him time to figure it out. He took over a great situation at Oklahoma and was able to continue it. It's a different thing than taking over, an absolute mess, what he did at USC. So I get where he's coming from there, and maybe you're just trying to cut bait a little early. But I think if you're USC, you made that hire for a reason, and you got to hope it works out, and we'll see if it does. But I don't think he's going anywhere, at least on the USC side of things anytime.
Well, I think one thing, Ryan, that a lot of us, and I think people around the Pac-12 and now in the Big Ten, kind of thought when Lincoln made this decision to go to USC and go to SoCal was, oh my God, you've got that offensive mind, and now he's in LA, and here we go. They're going to be at the top of the recruiting world. I don't know how much is coach anymore versus your collective is put together well, or whatever it is. How do you sum up what recruiting has been for Lincoln Riley and USC, and how put together would you say for us is USC's collective? Because I've always heard that it's an underrated part of the new landscape of college football is how put together your collective is. What is the intel with USC's recruiting strategy and how it's gone with Lincoln Riley?
Yeah, it's certainly not gone as well as everyone thought. I think when Riley first came over, he had a few 5-stars that were committed to Oklahoma, ends up switching to USC. Of course, he brings in Caleb Williams, and he wins the Heisman the first year. So there was a lot of optimism early on, but it just, for whatever reason, it hasn't caught on. His strategy has been interesting. He hasn't tried to kind of lock up California. There's a lot of local guys that got offers later, and he was going after national guys first. It just hasn't worked all that well, and I don't think it's any one thing. I think USC's been slow to adapt to this new landscape of college football. They weren't even involving their collective in the recruiting process until that, the Tennessee, I think it was Virginia case, a while back. They were following what the intended rules of the NCAA were, which some schools were, but a lot of schools weren't. They were just getting, boosters involved in the recruiting process. And USC said, no, we're not going to do that. Now you can. So I feel like they've been playing catch up on that side of it. It's a huge part of recruiting now. I mean, it's just a really big deal. I think they've made a lot of good strides with their collective, but they also have 3 different ones, so that can be a little clunky. I think it's more about less than just what is the collective doing or what's recruiting. It's kind of how it's all working together. They don't all seem to be on the same page, and I think it's hurting them. I think they're coming along, but they've just kind of been behind that a little bit and not been able to recruit at the high level that you expect USC to be able to recruit, especially with like a high name, high powerful coach like Lincoln Riley.
Interesting. Ryan Abraham is our guest at Inside Troy on Twitter, USCfootball.com. One of our favorites talking USC after we had a little debate on our show about Paul Feinbaum's comments yesterday that Lincoln Riley should have been turfed. And your answer to that is, I think, spot on. USC's not going to make that move. That's one of those, let's throw some hot takes out. It's the offseason. It'll get everybody kind of conversing about this. But it was interesting, Ryan, and I'm curious your thoughts because we ended up having a follow-up conversation about Feinbaum's comments, and my co-host had mentioned, hey, you go 8-4 this year. Your defense takes some strides. Like, that's a really good year. And I agree with where he's coming from, but I also think it's funny to think of, imagine saying that when Lincoln Riley is hired. Like in year 3, year 8-4 is a good year, man. We're making progress. What are the expectations for them this year? Caleb is gone. We knew how talented once in a generation kind of quarterback down there. You got a new starter who looked really good in the bowl game. You open with a tough non-conference game against LSU. What are reasonable expectations? What makes USC fan happy this year?
Yeah, it's a great question because if you swap like his first 2 years, if they go from 4-8 to 7-5 and then 11 wins, you'd be like, oh, that's great.
He's going in the right direction. Yeah.
He overachieved, I think, in year 1 and won a Heisman, which is important to USC fans and all that. And then you really just kind of fell apart later in the season. So I think the expectations are always going to be high with at least the fan base. But I think going into the Big Ten, there's a lot of unknowns, and you're just kind of wondering like how's this going to work with all the travel and everything. Their schedule's tough. I mean, you have the Big Ten schedule plus LSU and Notre Dame out of conference. I do think 8-4 would be it'd be pretty good. I guess it depends how it looks, but I think the 9-3 thing. I think people would really like to see them get to that point where you're in the discussion for one of the playoff spots, and USC's never made the playoff before. And I think the schedule sets up okay if they are better on defense and they don't take too big of a step back on offense, because they play a lot of really good teams, and they're playing Michigan and at Washington and Penn State and, like I mentioned, LSU, Notre Dame, but they don't play probably the 2 most talented rosters in the Big Ten in Ohio State and Oregon. So avoiding both of those schools, I mean, is Michigan going to take a big step back? Is Washington? I think there's an opportunity there to lose some tough games, but still, if you go 9-3 with that schedule, they're probably in the playoff mix, third in the Big Ten or something like that. So I feel like that's something that's achievable. But just going 8-4 with the way the schedule's setting up, I think that would be a pretty big improvement. But it's all going to be about what does the defense look like, because they can't be ranked in the hundreds like they were the last couple of years. So I think the fans might actually not be that upset, especially if you beat UCLA and Notre Dame. But I think that's kind of a reasonable expectation, but fans aren't always reasonable. But I think it's going to be the reality this year with so many tough games and this whole new Big Ten schedule that they just haven't been, never been used, never seen before. It's going to be a whole different ballgame.
I think aside from being so connected and plugged in and doing an exceptional job on the website, one reason we like having you is you're pretty rational. You're not one of these psycho diehards that's like, hey, we're the best team in the country. Will you? I'm curious though, when you go through the website, how much is Oregon in the kitchen of the USC fan right now? Because the recruiting thing has been fascinating. Oregon's had some good seasons. Dan Lanning recruiting at a really good level. Just USC's fans worry about how good Oregon has become in recruiting and what they may become on the field this year because they're so loaded in talent.
Yeah, no, I think it's a big part of it. I think there's a huge amount of frustration because the game has changed. And I think you've seen teams adapt to the new landscape of college football, and Oregon being one of them that's done it the best. It's great to have, Phil Knight backing and all that, but I think it's a button down approach. You have like Nike executives helping, and it's Oregon's doing it. They're doing it right, and USC just hasn't been. And to lose players to Oregon, or guys going other places like Ohio State or Texas A&M, it's really frustrating for the fan base. So there's a lot of criticism of the collective or what's going on with the staff and all that. But I think it's just one of those things that you sort of relied on a lot of the tradition and a lot of the putting guys in the NFL and coming to Los Angeles and weather, all those things. And those have all been, they're still important to a lot of recruits, but there's a factor that's bigger to everyone, and it's, dollars. And until they kind of get that piece right, it's not just the amount of money, but just making the right offers and keeping the players on your roster happy. There's a lot that goes into it that you have to keep kind of rolling, and they just haven't done that. So seeing Oregon, do that, and then thinking Oregon was left behind, and then they end up joining the Big Ten. It's a big deal with USC fans. So it's one of those things they're trying to deal with, but it's we see it on the message boards all the time. So Oregon got another 5-star commit, and then they're complaining about Phil Knight and all this stuff. So, but it's a big part of it. Yeah,
it'll make for a fun rivalry, obviously, going forward in the Big Ten. Are you heading to the Big Ten Media Days? Are you going to Indy?
I got 3 of my people going out there, so I won't be going. Yeah, all my staff wanted to go, so I'm like, all right, I'll let you guys go handle in Indianapolis. I want to wait till they come out to Vegas. Hopefully,
there you go. Yeah, a little bit better trip going to Vegas and Indianapolis. That's for sure. Ryan Abraham, Inside Troy on Twitter. He's one of our favorites. USCFootball.com. Thanks for the insight, the update. I'm sure we're going to be reaching out to you as football season is right around the corner. We can't wait. Thanks as always, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Ryan Abraham talking USC football. Oregon's in the kitchen. Feels like 8-4 is a good year. To your point from yesterday, show defensive strides. And I didn't really think about his scheduling anecdote there too, of that they don't have to play Ohio State and they don't have to play Oregon this year, who some would, at least going into the year, argue were the 2 best teams in the conference. So while it's still a challenging schedule, there's not maybe a team that should be able to talent-wise overpower you like potentially Oregon or USC could.
I think it's all just about timing for them, right? Like you mentioned, they play Michigan fairly early in the year.
Week 3, I think, right out of the gate.
But see, like, as good as Michigan's probably going to be, I think they're going to be loaded on defense, and we'll see what they are offensively. It's about when you play Michigan. Playing at Michigan is not easy. Playing at Michigan when it's like 79 degrees, that fits really well with the Lincoln Riley offense.
Yeah.
Miller Moss is going to be a very interesting case. They also get Wisconsin at home, so you don't have to go to Wisconsin.
Yep.
You're at Minnesota. I mean, come on. You should be rowing the boat. PJ Fleck tried to go to UCLA. I just don't have a lot of faith that the Gophers are going to be good. And then Penn State, you get Penn State at home. Like, you go look at it, your toughest road game is Washington. Well, Michigan, obviously, but I mean, like late in the season.
Later in the year.
You're at Washington. You get Rutgers at home, Penn State at home, Notre Dame at home, at UCLA, and you get Nebraska at home. You avoid actually a lot of cold weather situations late in the year, and you got a lot of big opponents coming to your house. So if you can salvage, be 8-4, maybe flirt with 9-3, and your defense isn't embarrassing, I think people just need to continue to be patient. It was also good to hear him basically say Lincoln has took a bad approach, but also not as quite prepared for what this world is of college football collectively.
No, that's been the take behind the scenes down there for a while.
And I think that's what needs to get some people off of his neck. He's not maybe a perfect coach, certainly has his flaws, but I'll take that offensive mind all day, especially if he's going to give me elite quarterback play the way he has in his career. If he nailed the defensive hire, now it's on the university. Get your ass together, and we can start recruiting with some of these bigger boys.
Well, it's interesting, too. 3 teams on that schedule you would traditionally circle as, tough game. We have no clue how good they're going to be. LSU, I'm assuming it's going to be good, but we don't know. Michigan won a national championship, but they lost a ton, including their coaching staff.
And we underrate
And Washington's
that.
the same thing. They were undefeated last year, so you're like, that's a tough trip to Seattle. assuming they'll be good, but I have no clue how good Washington's going to be this
Nebraska
year.
coming to your place, same thing. Like,
yeah, very
is
similar.
Nebraska going to take a big step this year with Raiola.
So Ryan Abraham with an update on USC. A couple of notes coming up next. One of them, we'll give you an update quickly on what's going on in the Open Championship. Bit of carnage overseas. We'll get back to some football stuff at the bottom of the hour. Also, another milestone. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams.
Why?
Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
And even the Orioles, they're really good. But they're in dire need of a starting pitcher, not just for the rest of this season, but beyond. Because Corbin Burns is not coming back.
Ken Rosenthal talking about Baltimore heading into the trade deadline, which is, about a week and a half away, give or take. We're almost there. Doesn't think Corbin Burns is going to re-sign with them, so you got to go get another arm if you're Baltimore. 1-game lead in the division.
Is Paul Skeens available yet?
Not
look,
quite
Baltimore
yet.
Collectively, actually not a bad team. Collectively, they're 6th in baseball in ERA. Go get a proven arm. There'll be a few on the deadline for sure, and then they'll be okay.
Some teams will end up selling here in the next 10 days. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. James Ballard, visit rocpdx.com.
Thanks to our fan listeners and Autotown GMC. This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
On 1080 The Fan.
Well, we got a bit of carnage going on. We'll get to that in a moment. Do we want to talk about or have any thoughts on or want to opine on Caitlin Clark breaking the WNBA record with 19 assists in a game last night?
I don't really have anything to opine on. She's been fantastic.
That was awesome. She also set the record in the WNBA for most, was it like points accounted for? Because like she had 24 on her own, had 19 assists.
Yep.
And she scored or assisted on that's what it is. Scored or assisted on 66 points for Indiana. That is the most in a game in history, surpassing Diana Taurasi, who did it 65 in 2006. So she got her by a point.
Well, let's not overlook the fact they still lost and that team can't play defense yet. So
I was going to say it's a very bad loss for him, actually.
She was pissed after the game.
Well,
I saw some of the post-game comments.
Aaliyah Boston interrupted a question towards Caitlin Clark of like, hey, what does it mean? And she just stopped and goes, she's going to say it's no big deal. It was pretty awesome what she did yesterday.
I mean, 19 assists is wild in a game.
Oh, she's been fantastic. She's a little bit of a slow start, but they also kind of just threw her into a gauntlet to start her career. Like, hey, go play all the great teams on TV. And I think she had played 7 games before some teams had even played 3. Their schedule's eased up a bit, but they're still not a very good team. I'm glad you brought this up because they did do something egregious. And I hate that, like, anytime that league gets talked about, it's usually like, hey, we're pissed about something.
Yeah.
But as somebody that's been following and watching, how is she not in the 3-point contest?
Wait, what?
Yeah, they announced the 3-point contest yesterday, and she's not in it.
What?
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
Hold on, I want to make sure I didn't get butt-cracked sports.
I mean, talk about not more. I know they're taking a month off for the Olympics. Is there also an All-Star break that's connected to that?
the All-Star break is this. The All-Star game is this.
It's this Friday.
Weekend.
Okay,
It's
and
tomorrow.
then the Olympics starts?
So Stephanie Dolson, Jacquel Jones, Alicia Gray, Marina Mabrey, who just got traded to the Sun, and Kayla McBride.
By God, what are you doing?
Read the room.
I mean, do they need...
Even a little bit. Please read the room.
Does somebody in the WNBA need to take a marketing class on how to market your product?
Well, here's the other thing.
You want to do the whole Olympic thing, whatever. That's fine. She didn't earn it, whatever. I still think that's dumb. She should be on the Olympic team.
Sure.
3-point contest is inexcusable.
I got another one. I got another gripe for you.
What are we doing?
They signed their media deal, and it was a $2.2 billion deal. They made $200 million a year.
Well, I don't know how much control the WNBA had over their own media. It's part of the NBA. So the NBA still owns 60% of the WNBA.
Okay, so if that's the deal, then okay. But if it was their choice, I would say, why? Why would you ever, when your ratings and all your eyeballs are going up? And by the way,
through the roof,
it's largely Caitlin, but they have tracked it. It's not just Caitlin, but it's largely Caitlin.
Are they starting to see some carryover to the rest?
Rising tide lifts all boats, man.
Angel Reese has been good for the league. I don't know why you'd agree to an 11-year deal. Now, if that's the NBA's
I think it's
dealings,
piggybacked off of the...
Let's just get long-term security.
Because the new NBA deal is 11 years, so I think the bulk of it... Now, there's other pieces of it, like the pieces with ION and CBS and whatever is separate, but I think the piece with ESPN and Amazon is wrapped into somehow the bigger overall NBA deal with ESPN, ABC, and Amazon.
Yeah, 11 years is, I mean, if we've learned anything from the ACC, it's don't do stupid things for that long.
No.
Sabrina should have been in the 3-point contest, and Caitlin Clark should be in the 3-point contest. They're massive draws. I just bought Storm tickets to go see Sabrina in August. So I'll be in Seattle for the Friday after our show, and then I get to wake up Saturday and watch a little Clemson, Georgia, and then get home just in time for Ducks and Beavers season openers against the
thrilling
Idaho
games.
schools.
What are we talking about here? I can't wait. Idaho State's in town.
But yeah, it's been a good year. I saw that yesterday though, and I'm like, really? You're not going to put her in the 3-point contest?
Well, they only announced 5 names. Are there still names to be added?
No, it says these are participants.
Is she in the All-Star game at least?
Yeah, she's on. So the WNBA All-Stars are playing the U.S. Olympic team that's headed over to Paris.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The All-Star game.
Smart move.
That's a great idea.
That's a smart move.
I hope she torches them. That'd be great. Another reminder of why she should be on the team.
So everybody's looking forward to Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark playing together against the GOATs.
I think it's fun. I mean, there was a lot of conversation around this going into her joining the WNBA about growing pains, and she's in for she's going to have to learn. And a lot of that, she did get off to a tough start. Those first few games are rough, but as you kind of pointed out, I remember watching some of them, and it's like, I feel like they're the only team playing every night. Like some teams have played 2 games and they're already at 10. This schedule doesn't make any sense.
Well, they had some weird they definitely had some weird schedule games. Like my wife was like, wait, that game was 3 hours ago? I'm like, yeah, I don't know why it's on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay,
make a lot of sense.
They have one day in the summer because they do a whole bunch of basketball camps or whatever for young girls. And they've been doing that in the league for a number of years. So they do the camp
and then play the game in the afternoon.
So you have an early start game like at noon or whatever.
They've done this a couple times. This was not a one-day thing. They had a week ago, they had 2 games at 11 a.m.
Yeah, that was the camp day.
Okay, well, yesterday both the games were done before 5 o'clock p.m.
That doesn't seem like it's a great way to
The Caitlin game was done at 2.
Was it done that early in the day?
No, it was at 4:30. We were watching it. It was 4:30 Pacific on ESPN.
Okay, then I'm thinking of the Dallas game then, the Wings. That game was on at like 2 o'clock.
They were playing the Wings.
No, okay, well, then it was the other game that was on. God.
Who's on first?
There were 2 games yesterday. You didn't even know that. You thought
there was one. ESPN.
You watched the ESPN game. You didn't know there were 2.
That was the Fever and the Wings. 4:30 p.m.
Who's on first?
Who's on first? I can't jump into this argument because I was not watching. I just saw that she had 19 assists, and that's awesome.
So who won between the Dream and the Lynx?
That game I did not watch.
Oh, suddenly there's a second game.
2 games.
Because it was on before.
Okay.
You're going to correct me? Come correct, Oracle.
If you're going to take a shot at the king, don't miss.
They've done early games multiple times this season. It's not a one-day special camp thing.
It doesn't seem like a great idea. One-off maybe, for the entire year. That makes sense. Let's do something for the kids. But throughout the summer when you're trying to get more eyeballs.
Was 5 p.m. local time start really early?
No, I think we should move up start times. I'm glad that my baseball team did. They moved their start times for Giants games up to like 6:45.
Was it in Atlanta or Minnesota?
Difference.
It was in Minnesota.
So it was 4 p.m. local time.
Yeah. Is that early to you? It's pretty early to me.
In the summer, I don't think it's too early. I'm okay with 4 o'clock starts. I'm also an old that goes to bed at 9 o'clock every night, so that's kind of my nighttime anyways. I'm eating dinner at 4 o'clock.
So is your argument like who cares about the West Coast time zone?
That's been sports forever.
Yeah.
We have 2 o'clock NBA games pretty regularly. With a lot of 4 o'clock start times in the NBA.
I didn't know the WNBA would get you guys all riled up.
Well, he's over there
here.
pretending because he saw one game. This has happened one time. This has happened multiple times. I have league pass.
Oh, man. 19 assists, though. Pretty damn cool. Caitlin Clark's having a really good year, and she should be on Team USA and definitely should be in the three-point contest. There's a hot take.
I am curious if she turned it down.
The three-point contest?
Which I wouldn't understand why.
I wouldn't either. That's one, why would you not want to do that?
Sabrina participated in the NBAs.
She did.
I don't know why she wouldn't be.
I mean, they should both do that next year. Give me like Sabrina and Caitlin Clark in a shoot-off with Steph and whoever else. Didn't Sabrina almost beat Steph in their three-point contest? That was
awesome. I think
awesome.
he beat her with like
a last shot or
6
something.
or 7 balls left, yeah.
So there you go, 19 assists. I didn't get to the carnage. We will get to the carnage. Also, are we tired of this guy yet? Is that a thing? Because he was in the news again. We'll get to that, but first, your swag with SportsCenter.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the final groups about to tee off from Royal Troon, round 1 of the 152nd Open Championship. Everyone chasing. Justin Thomas went out early, posted a 3 under 68. So far, it is holding up. 5 golfers tied at 2 under, par 6 now. Brooks Koepka has gotten it to 2 under. He is through 7 holes. There's 18 golfers in red numbers. Jordan Spieth, Shane Lowry, Xander Schauffele, all at 1 under on the front 9. As for other notable names, Rory McIlroy, a rough day, 7 over 87. Scotty Scheffler, Wyndham Clark are both even. They are on the front 9s of their round. U.S. men's Olympic basketball team took down Serbia 105-79 on Wednesday. They are 3-0 in their pre-Olympic exhibition games. Steph Curry led the way, 24 points. He had 6 threes. U.S. hit 44% of their threes. They will go to London now for 2 more, starting with South Sudan on Saturday. NBA mourning the passing of one of the founders of the Orlando Magic, Pat Williams, passing away at the age of 84 due to complications from viral pneumonia. Williams spent over a half-century as a front office executive in the NBA. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
eBay Motors is
This is an Open Championship edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
On 1080 The Fan.
Our people in said these two arguing today sound like brothers fighting over who gets the bigger half of the muffin. No, I want the muffin. No, I want the
bigger bit.
A little bit of carnage overseas this morning. I woke up to see my boy Rory was already like 5 over by the time my alarm went off, so that was fun. He was, he finished 7 over today?
7 over.
7 over. Bryson was in a world of pain, but he ended up salvaging his round a hair to get to 5 over with a late eagle on 16.
He finished at 5 because I saw him
5
at 2,
over.
and then he went to 3. So
He did not have a hole where he marked a score under par until the 16th hole of his round. It was all pars, bogeys, or double bogeys until he eagled the 16th hole. He was 7 over, got an eagle on 16, finished at 5 over. There are a lot of notable golfers with relatively high scores. And I don't know if we were expecting this level of carnage. I knew the weather was going to be a little blistery. But as I said yesterday on the show, the last time Royal Troon hosted an Open Championship, you had 2 guys shoot 63s. Phil did it in the opening round. Henrik Stenson did it in the last round. Now, the weather was different.
The weather was different. It was sunny and
I know.
warm
That's just,
and
you got like 8
and
guys under par. That's it. This is playing like a U.S. Open.
This is the Open Championship I'm used to watching.
Yep, same.
So
I mean, we had it last year, except for Brian Harmon, who played in these conditions and got to like 20 under par.
Oh, was it 20?
I mean, I don't know what he officially finished at, but he ran away from everybody, and nobody else could keep up.
Yeah, their previous 2, I think Cam was in the 20s, and I want to say Harmon was 13 under, so it's like they both went really low.
He boat raced the field, and at St. Andrews 2 years ago, they were super low.
I asked Swag during the break, like, what do you think the cut line is going to be right now? He thinks it's around 4-ish.
That sounds about right.
Plus 4, plus 5, unless conditions get a lot easier tomorrow. But
Which it doesn't seem like it will.
Winds are blowing 15 to 20 miles an hour consistently.
Look, if anybody can cut some strokes down and make this, it's the guy who grew up in it. So Rory had a bad day.
I mean, he's not going to win the tournament. He might make the cut.
No, not going to win the tournament. But also, like, I mean, no disrespect. Justin Thomas is going to be 3 under tomorrow.
Yeah,
way he's been golfing, this has been up and down for him. So we'll see. I still think Rory can make the cut, though.
Brooks Koepka's on fire right now. He just birdied 4 straight holes. I don't know what he did on
hit
number.
the bunker.
He did on number 8. Okay, so he bogeyed 2 and 3, and then he birdied 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe a bogey coming at 8. Other than that, I mean, you got a few other guys that are notable. You mentioned Justin Thomas at 3 under, Sepp Straka's at 1 under, Justin Rose is on a nice little run, Adam Scott picking up where he left off last weekend at the Scottish Open, Spieth is 1 under, Xander Schauffele's 1 under. Tony Finau at even par.
Where he be now?
Where he be now? He's in the mix.
Okay.
Tony Finau sniffing around. So you got a few guys hanging. But I do like it when you get these blistery rain. It feels like you're at Bandon in November.
Yes.
When I'm watching this golf tournament.
Yes.
And it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch. Caleb Williams finally signed his contract in Chicago. Finally happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some curious stories coming out of
he's a unique dude, and I find him interesting to talk about.
He doesn't have a traditional agent.
He does not.
He's got lawyers, right, and managers.
So he was trying to figure out ways where he can get his money funneled into an LLC for tax purposes.
NFL said,
smart move.
And the NFL was like, no. He asked for all these different things.
Player contracts are signed with players.
Yes, they are. And then he also asked in his rookie deal, and it's just kind of a unique way to start your relationship. I get where he's coming from. And the Bears were like unequivocally, no. He wanted to put in his contract that they could not franchise tag him. And the Bears did not waffle on that and said absolutely not. Now, Dak Prescott did have that in his deal, but that was in a later contract.
Not your rookie deal.
Was that in his second time out? Because he did get tagged the first time.
He did get, I think it was after he got tagged and signed the deal, he said, you cannot tag me again. And they said, okay, we'll put that in the deal. Great negotiating, Jera. But Caleb with some interesting strategies, but he finally signed his deal in Chicago. So did Roma Dunze, by the way.
I mean, I'm not surprised that he was looking for different, unique things. He's always been a different cat. I'll give you a take. I think I'd give him the no tag. If that is something that would give me a slight upper hand going forward in a good faith relationship.
Starting off on the right note.
And look, it's never easy to say that out loud and actually be the person doing it because we don't know who any of these guys are going to be in the NFL no matter what our takes are. Yeah, sure. Because if you're a bust, I'm probably not excited about even year 4, and I'm trying to get out of it at that point anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're above a bust, I'm probably going to want to pay you. So, like,
you're going to get your deal probably in year 3 like all these other young quarterbacks have.
The only thing I would wonder from the labor standpoint is, are you setting a precedent or is this a standalone?
Yeah, I don't even think this is about Caleb. You remember how much backlash there was from owners when Haslam signed Deshaun's deal, fully guaranteed.
We've still heard from that backlash.
There may not be technically collusion going on between the owners, but I gotta imagine if you were the first owner to give a rookie quarterback the no franchise tag, you are getting death stares in the next owners meeting. And,
every quarterback's going to ask for that in their rookie deals.
And every other owner is just icing you out of anything, that you might want to do as an owner.
Should remember as a Bear, too, they got this deal done a lot quicker and sooner than they did when they got Roquan Smith out of the draft. That one took a hell of a long time.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And I understand that he's the flashier name. Be like, hey, Caleb finally signed, huh? McCarthy hasn't.
Oh, JJ, I didn't even know that. JJ McCarthy hasn't signed his deal
exactly,
yet?
because MAGA McCarthy is more boring than Caleb
we
Williams.
all know McCarthy sucks. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, that's why nobody's talking about him.
Kevin O'Connell doesn't.
He threw 10 passes in a big game this year. He's Jimmy Garoppolo of college football. What are we doing? Nobody cares. Okay. My old high school football coach is a diehard Vikings fan. We were down there a couple weeks ago on our golf trip.
Is he feeling like Chuck?
No, he's trying to do the optimistic. I was ribbing him the entire trip. Like, JJ McCarthy's your quarterback. That's where you went. You took him the top 12 pick, JJ McCarthy. Really?
I mean, look, they clearly wanted to replace Kirkers.
Can't even throw a baseball, man. That's your quarterback.
All right, yeah. But it is funny.
Sorry,
that,
Chuck, I love you, but
this
bad pick.
But Chuck is in hell right now. I mean, Chuck's not happy. This has been the biggest story, I think, of the rookie class. He was unsigned.
He's the headliner. Caleb's the headliner.
He's the number one pick. We get it. And it's been a big deal in Chicago sports radio. It's just funny that, McCarthy is the last one not signed of these guys. Not a peep. Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. Yeah. Hey, maybe kind of a big deal that the guy we all think kind of sucks just refusing to sign his rookie contract for whatever reason.
Just not coming to an agreement yet. I will say they're going to have some, I don't know what leverage they're going to use. The NFL is going to push for 18 games. They're going to get there.
It's going to happen.
There's got to be a concession the other direction to kind of take this Caleb conversation and make it league-wide. This should be their dying hill. You want 18 games? Get rid of the franchise tag. Pay us or don't pay us. Commit or don't commit. You don't want to give me a long-term contract? Let me be a free agent. You want me to you want to re-sign me? Then re-sign me. I hate that teams have this ability to hold this over guys' heads and basically hold them hostage of saying, we're going to keep you from making your fair market value because we have a rule that says, despite you've been here for 4 or 5 years on a rookie deal, we can now throw one more year where you're locked up and can't leave.
Or because we're horrible managing the salary
It's ridiculous that this exists.
That we punish you, the player.
Yes.
You think the NFL is going to give that up for the other
Probably
game?
not, because the players always get railroaded in these negotiations. But if they had a pair of balls and threatened, you want 18 games, all this extra revenue, I have now an increased chance of getting hurt on my tag season, which it hurts my chances in free agency. This would be the one that I would die on.
This is where the owners always have the advantage because there's only 32 of them, and they probably only have to get 25 on the same page.
For a majority, yeah.
As opposed to an entire players association where you have to get all of the rank and all the membership on the same page about what they're going to go in and hold the line about.
Yeah. Well, I hope they die on that hill because they shouldn't get tagged. But Caleb Williams tried to get it in his first contract. Chicago said no. He also tried some other unique strategies, and the NFL politely told him no, and he has signed his deal in Chicago. Let's wrap it up on a Thursday. We'll do it next on The Fan.
It's The Fan.
Hold on.
This is an Open Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club.
on 1080 The Fan.
Well, Joe Fisher wants me to fist fight him before I leave the office today. He takes shots at my boy, huh? It's going after Rory.
It's Fisher's problem.
Joe Fisher
He hates Rory.
he is the Skip Bayless of this radio station when it comes to Rory McIlroy. He is. He is the Skip Bayless to Rory as the real Skip Bayless is to LeBron James. That's what he has decided to die on that hill.
Skip Bayless is about to be unemployed, so I hope that's not Joe.
yeah. Joe's going to be, he'll be employed for a long time, unless we get in a fight in the parking lot on my way out. But taking advantage, my boy didn't have a good day. 7 over par. But we watch nonetheless. The Open Championship continues. What do we got on the docket tonight? You guys got anything on your radar this evening in the sports world? Are we in dry June or dry July now?
I thought there was one single Major League Baseball game, but I guess
till
that was
tomorrow.
an experiment, and they decided it didn't work. So.
We do get a massive series this weekend, which will begin tomorrow.
Yes.
In Seattle.
They host the
Astros.
Braves host the Cardinals.
Red Sox, Dodgers.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That'll be on the Fan Saturday and Sunday.
Hey, look at us.
Giants are at the Rockies.
Hell yeah, we are, brother.
You guys are in Seattle soon.
That's a giver. I'm going up to that game. They're up there in August. I'm going up when they come to town. Taking my dad and brother and my nephew. We're all going up. We did that for a Father's Day gift for everybody.
Boy, we could come in on that Monday or whenever that series ends, and we could come in and Houston could be the division leader.
There's a big one this weekend.
It's a massive one for them.
Looming over everybody's heads.
Nothing for me. This is actually going to be a nice little fun family day. The wife took the day off. We're going to head to a body of water.
There you go.
There you go.
Was supposed to be the coast, and
not happening.
That lost, unfortunately.
The Coast Battle lost out on a Thursday.
The Coast Battle lost for the day, although I'm pushing kind of for Saturday for a Coast Day. But
you could go find a river or a lake somewhere and jump in, maybe.
I don't know where we're going.
Okay.
It was an ocean, then it turned into a lake, and then it may be a river.
Now it's a pond. You're gonna find a creek on a hike somewhere.
We're getting outdoors. That's all I know.
Find a trail. Yesterday, I don't know about you guys if you guys are doing anything outdoors. The heat kind of snuck. It was kind of overcast and cloudy, and then all of a sudden it was like, dude, it is hotter than hell out here.
Shirtless run. I hit it.
Did you right in the middle when that heat started to turn up a little bit?
Yeah, buddy.
Well, we had the shade in Mom's backyard. Actually, was
how'd
quite
your pork
nice.
butt turn out? Good butt over there.
Fantastic.
Was it a good pork butt?
Good pork butt over there.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What do you do with your pork butt? Do you just eat it like with some stuff, or do you make like a slider? What do you do with your pork butt?
I had rolls, so you could do like a sandwich, little barbecue sauce. Some people put slaw on it. However you wanted
That's
to do it.
That's the best thing about the pork butt because you can do it. You always go.
Or you can just put
eat
a pile of it.
Yeah,
and eat it.
Put some barbecue sauce on it or something.
Yeah.
You always go with the pulled pork sandwiches first. That's what I do with it.
Yep.
And then with the leftovers, I either love doing a pulled pork taco, which can be good, or I love pulled pork nachos.
That's good.
Pulled pork nachos are
Quesadilla.
quesadillas are great
great.
too. It's got a meat full of fridge, man, or a fridge full of meat.
I hate to be the soy boy here, but I am morally conflicted on eating pork. I feel awful, and yet
why are we conflicted?
What's wrong with
What's the matter with you over there, you electric car driving soy boy?
I'm actually plugged in right now. Actually,
Damn right you are.
Pigs are as smart as 8-year-olds, dude. You know how we kill those pigs mostly?
Yeah, we got to get them scared right at first, or don't we do something to get their blood pumping more or something?
Like big factories, we just gas chamber the hell out of them. Like, it's just awful.
Somebody invented that. Do you see that for insects now? We have a gas chamber for insects.
Really?
It's like a...
Tell me more.
It's like a can that comes with a dog cone on the end of it. And so you legit just put it on the ground, the cone surrounds the bug, and then you spray into the cone.
Interesting.
And it's a gas chamber
See,
for
insects, whatever.
insects.
I feel a little bit, but man, do I love eating pig. Pork butt, sliders, nachos,
bacon.
tacos, bacon.
What are we doing here, man? Come on.
A Cubano. Oh, my God.
Underrated sandwich.
You guys
the
don't know how
Cubano.
good you taste.
Gotta let them know. Pigs taste good. Well, that'll do it for us, folks. Good little
by
show.
the way, somebody, Martin, said, if you like comedy, the most recent Kill Tony on YouTube.
Oh, fantastic.
Gillis as Trump is so...
They did a Trump-Biden debate with the two. Gillis being Trump is just phenomenal. That will do it for us. Yeah, I'm kind of nothing really going on tonight. Watch a little bit of the Open this afternoon. It's kind of a dead day. Then
Enjoy the
baseball
weather.
picks up tomorrow. Yeah. nice.
Enjoy the weather.
Enjoy the sunshine. Do some barbecuing. Get outdoors. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of our Thursday. Ryan Abraham was on the show at 8. If you missed that, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080thefan. We'll tweet it out. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who noticed the Cleveland Warriors hat. Go Warriors. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm Ryan Horvath here to help you beat the books with BetQL. The New York Jets are coming off